Yo, what is up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're having a very, very good evening, morning, afternoon, night, wherever you're coming from. We're back for another episode of the Group Up Podcast. And with me is three awesome guests for the Great ELO Hell Debate. Guys, how you doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
Doing good.
Good. Okay, I hope everyone's excited. You guys have been asking me for something like this for a long time. You guys always say, you always bring these GMs on stream. You never get the real people's experience, the real average player's experience. You never address it. So here we are to address it explicitly. So what we're going to do here, we're going to discuss the idea of ELO Hell, but more widely, just the rank system, what it's like playing in the metal ranks, which a couple of these players are from, which they will tell you all about in a second. So what I thought we'd do, just so that everyone's on the same page and we understand everyone's POV and rank journey, I thought we'll just go around, quickly introduce not only who we are, but what our rank journey is. So for context, for example, I'm SVB. I started playing Overwatch when it went live. I started in gold, and in about season 7 or so, I got to top 500. I dropped out a couple seasons later, and ever since then, I've been hard stuck master. But for the last year or so, I've been practicing my off roles. I was a tank main, Winston Ryan in pre-roll lock. And for the last year or so, I've been getting my support and DPS up as well. So I managed to climb them from gold to master. So both those roles. So I've basically seen the entire spectrum from gold and above. But bronze, silver, I don't have any lived experience with, though I have coached many players from that ELO. So with that as the setup, we'll move over next to Cuppcaake. Cuppcaake, how you doing?
Great.
Do you want to quickly give us a rundown? Yeah.
Yeah. I started playing Overwatch in beta, and when I ranked season 1, I was a Mercy main, of course. And
Nice.
I think I ranked about, I don't know, because it was different season 1. So I think it was equivalent to like gold or plat or something like that. But I made Mercy and I climbed to diamond by season 2. And then from like season 2 to season 8, I've consistently climbed from like diamond to masters. And I think I dipped into GM like twice between season 8 and season 10. And so I was pretty consistent between like diamond and masters up until like season 12. And then I switched. I got burnt out on Mercy and I needed a change, and I switched to Ana. And season 12, I switched to Ana, and like it just went downhill from there. I think it was my first season ending like in plat as Ana in season 12. And because it was hard, Ana was a hard character for me to like adjust to, especially after Mercy. So I think it was like between season 12 and I don't know, 16 or something. I was pretty consistent between like diamond, I don't know. So I've been all over the place, but I definitely, since I switched to Ana, since like season 16 or something, I've just progressively just gone down, and I've been hard stuck in usually plat since then. Like I might peek into diamond, but then I'll go back to plat. And then the last few seasons I've even like dipped down into gold and then back into plat. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I still main Ana now, but it's still a struggle. Still stuck in plat.
And it's an interesting one that we can definitely come back to later, because obviously the hero element is quite interesting there. Obviously with Mercy, you were able to reach a higher peak, but having switched over to Ana, which again, some people say Ana, the better hero to climb on, but you've kind of found life harder. So I'll come to A10 last, because A10 is kind of the variance here. He's too good. He's much better than the rest of us. So I'm gonna go to Adovahkitty next. So Adovahkitty, would you like to just quickly introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm Adovahkitty. I started out pretty much back in 2018. So I think I started around, maybe that was season 12. I was a Tracer main, and I was kind of just sticking around silver, gold. I did a lot of Mercy too, and so I kind of stayed around that, just playing those two heroes for quite a while until Roll Queue was announced, and I kind of switched back to just going into support, like strictly support. And I was Moira one trick, and I really loved her. I played some Mercy here and there, but really just stuck on those 2 heroes. I was able to climb just with those 2 heroes up to gold. I stayed in gold for a bit, for actually quite a while. And I actually upgraded to a desktop computer. I was playing on a laptop, and I was able to get to plat. I felt like that really helped. And then I was able to hit diamond and then masters just solely on Moira. And so I've been kind of sticking around just on Moira. I kind of switched to Mercy for a little bit and stuck around plat, diamond with her. But so that's kind of where I am still, like around diamond, switching from Mercy to Moira.
Okay, so another support player as well, which is again maybe something we'll revisit, how you guys have found your unique experiences with the role across the ranks as well. And now to round things off, A10, you can feel free to flex on us.
No, I actually also started out as a Mercy main. Like when the game first came out, I always played support, so she was my hero at the beginning, and then I kind of quit. And during the summer games, I came back and then met Zarya, who
Met Zarya.
Yeah, it's just fell
Your
in love
love.
with like that sort of like tank / DPS, and then that season I got to masters, and then next season started climbing. It's like a slow progression that just didn't stop, and then yeah, ended up climbing, getting really high elo, got into contenders, played for there for a little while, then swapped to DPS after goats because Zarya was the hitscan player. Messed about with that for a little bit. I've done some World Cup as well with Team Netherlands. We 6th place. It was really like underdog. It was insane. One of the like best experiences of my life. And yeah, then I became a little bit of a ladder warrior again, back to Zarya, just top 10, top 10. And now I'm kind of washed up now. I'm starting to go back down because I'm doing all these unranked GMs and I'm losing a lot of that skill and practice. So yeah, floating around.
Well,
GM.
you are getting many accounts to GM though, which is impressive in of itself. But again, you know, so to try and summarize here, guys, we've got quite a spectrum here of players who've kind of bounced around a lot. I think all of us who've played Overwatch for a while have bounced around a little bit. It's very hard to consistently stay at a certain rank. Yeah. And, you know, we've got everyone from, you know, people who have been stuck in the lower end of the ladder for a while, or, you know, the resident A10 here who's just, while he might be, you know, humble and say that, you know, he's not as good as he was, he's still, again, able to, you know, make accounts to GM very quickly. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick us off with the spiciest question off the bat. Guys, does ELO Hell exist? Anyone want to throw out any spicy takes here? I'm going to go around clockwise otherwise. Cuppcaake.
I don't know. It's like yes and no. Like it feels like it exists for sure because I've been stuck in the same ELO for so long and it is like it's hell. But at the same time, I don't know if like ELO Hell technically exists because I feel like a lot of my issues are just within myself. Maybe not even like the whole game, but it's like I choose to solo queue. Like, you know, I don't really, you know, I kind of stick with my same heroes, you know, like I'm not as well versed. I don't play Lucio. I don't really play a lot of Zen. So like sometimes that hurts myself. So it's like, it feels like ELO Hell. And sometimes it's like you want to blame everyone around you, but then sometimes it's like, okay, there's things that I could work on, and maybe if I did work on those things, like it would change. So I don't know. It's like yes and no.
Yeah, I think it's a fair take on it.
Sorry, A10, I'm just going to let you go. I just want to quickly, actually, I realized I didn't define ELO Hell. So let me just, for the benefit of anyone who's listening who's like, what is ELO Hell? Basically, most people would define ELO Hell as a rank where the correct things are being punished and you're forced to basically playing well would not result in a victory because the rank is so messed up that whatever behaviors it's learned into itself are unique to the system that it's supposed to promote. So if we take the case of Overwatch, you know, doing the right things on, let's say, Ana, you're doing the right moves, but it doesn't let you climb because your tanks are so bad that they're actually making you do the wrong things just to, you know, survive in the game. So with that in mind, A10, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, to the people listening, because I make a lot of educational content. I've got a lot of YouTube comments and Twitch for that. There's people out there that like are fully like can blame ELO Hell. I just want to say to them, no, okay, it doesn't exist like that. I think it's more of a. I think Cuppcaake said it really well. It's like that mental creation where it's like ELO Hell can be every ELO. It could be Masters could be it could be GM, it could be right the whole spectrum. It's just that I feel like ELO Hell is kind of that self creation or that
Mhm.
self fulfilling prophecy, or that like for there to be ELO Hell, there has to be ELO Heaven, right? And unfortunately, there's not really an ELO Heaven. It kind of goes the whole it can feel like ELO Hell everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely is my experience because like, I play Ana.
Mhm.
So realistically, with Ana, it's like a lot of it's like common sense. You know, she's a ranged support, so you ideally would be like, you know, high ground, da da da. But in like Plat, like I've had to learn to adjust that because the way maybe my team plays, and if I'm too far, like if I'm back where I'm supposed to be, but then my team just like rushes past the choke, and then like they're out of line of sight, so
Yeah.
I have to be more ready and closer to be able to follow them and stay, you know, line of sight to them. So it's like a lot of times I feel like I can't play the way that I'm supposed to, and I've literally adjusted to it for so long that that's like my play style now. Like I'm more of a frontline auto, which like realistically is
Fun.
not that's not how you're supposed to play her, but it's like a lot of
Living
times
on
it's
the
the only
edge.
way I can make it, happen. Or if it's like overtime, the amount of times if I'm not there to, you know, contest, no one else is. Like everyone's just going off and whatever. So it's like I can't be the one to stay safe where I'm supposed to because I have to can disappoint. You know, like a lot of that, and it's like it becomes really frustrating because I know I'm not playing her the way I like should or the way I want to because I have had to adjust so much.
I was about to
Adovahkitty,
say,
you were, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I absolutely agree with you. Like, if you're watching videos on how to play Ana and they're playing in GM, you're not going to be able to use some of that information because your teammates are not doing really what GM teammates would be doing in Plat.
Yeah,
I've
and you're not
noticed that a
even
lot
used
too.
to listen
Yeah,
to you.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like I'm not afraid to use comms. I'm not scared to like use comms. I don't care if people like talk to me like, oh girl, it doesn't faze me at all. Like I will make, you know, comms, but if they're not there to listen to them, like at least just you don't have to talk either. Just like listen to me. But that if they're not in comms, which most of the time they're not, especially in like Plat rank.
Happens in high elo a lot as well.
A lot of egos across the spectrum. I think that's
Yeah.
one thing. We'll definitely return to that in a second because A10's kind of alluding to the idea of ELO heaven, and I think that's one thing that a lot of players hold on to, the idea that somewhere along the line it'll get better. But I think, at least from the most of the players I've spoken to who've kind of gone across the spectrum, it doesn't really. There are things that get better, but there's things that don't.
Yeah, sure.
And what I wanted to allude to, so what you guys are both saying, Adovahkitty and Cuppcaake, is this idea that, well, if I was to watch a GM player, if I'm watching like ML7 in top 500, I can't necessarily take the things that he's doing and put them into my games, right? Is that why unranked GMs are so popular constantly as content amongst the Overwatch community, A10? And, you know, is this why you kind of choose to do them so much, so you can show people how to win in Plat?
For me specifically?
Yeah, you or anyone else, but in
Yeah.
general.
Yes, I think that there's a lot of people who have been like, oh, I have to see the footage in gold, or like A10, do this in gold, or do this in silver, or do this. And so for what I've done, or at least for me personally, is that I make my unranked GMs more about like the macro as a whole, so that like I could show people how to apply those like step-by-step rules, right? So like if you take all these fundamentals that can be applied anywhere, the issue with that is though, like if I do it in plat, you can still do the same in gold. If I do it in diamond, you can still like break that thing down and then like adjust it to your scenarios, so to say. But the issue I have with like that is that then some people don't really do that. They don't want to like transform the information. They just want to be told precisely what to do. So I've had people come and be like, no, you have to do this in bronze. You have to do this in silver. Oh, A10, you can never get out of bronze. It's too hard. Or like this won't work here. So for me personally, I feel like the fundamentals will trickle down. It's just that, like, you know what I mean? Like, an average gym's showing that.
Yeah. So what you're saying is kind of, it's better to teach the foundations and let people try and apply that themselves. But sometimes people are unwilling.
Yeah, there's some people out there, but for a lot of people, it does. Yeah, I think it's pretty successful actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll open this up to Adovahkitty first, and also Cuppcaake. what's your experience been with kind of trying to improve in the game in educational content? Like, what is it that you find is helpful, and what do you find is unhelpful? If you consume any at all.
I mean, I find all of the content that like I've seen on YouTube, I find it pretty helpful. I think like Overwatch players always have room for improvement. Um, like you could be top 500 and you still need to be open for improvement. Like Overwatch is constantly changing, and I think it's good to get ideas and other people's view on how to play other heroes. Um, just because you need to like be open to change, and I think that's something a lot of people aren't open to, and um, I think that there is a lot of good content you can find from other people.
What kind of content do you personally benefit the most from?
I really like watching like I don't know some of the like I can't remember some of the names like some of the other content creators, but um, the ones the videos online where it's like top tips you could use for these
Arky?
heroes. Yeah, I think so. But like just learning like tips on certain heroes, I think is good. Like I've really enjoyed watching the ones on Moira. I like hearing what other people have to say on how to play different heroes.
Cuppcaake, what about you? Do you find stuff like Karku's one tip for every hero to be the kind of the most helpful stuff, or do you prefer something else, or do you just not consume content? Because that's a large number of players too.
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't watch a lot of content. I don't watch YouTube videos. I don't watch a lot of streams. I have always like when I play something, it is very much so always like trial and error, like through my own experience. And that is absolutely something that I know and have always known is something that holds me back because there is so much to learn from other people and watching other people and, taking advice and, like Adova said, like a lot of people just aren't willing to like learn new things or whatever. And I'm not willing to learn new things. Like I want to learn new things. I don't know. I don't know if it's because like I'm really stubborn. Like I'm a Taurus. I'm super stubborn. But I'm like I can figure this out on my own. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. So a lot of it's just my own trial and error. And sometimes it works out really well. Like when I did play Mercy and like I got to GM, like I never watched anyone's content. I never watched YouTube videos. It was all just things that I learned and figured out like on my own. And there's part of me that like takes pride in that. I'm like, yeah. And I think I've tried this whole time to do something like the same thing with Anna, but I haven't really learned as much as I probably could if I did watch like, YouTube videos or whatever.
And you shouldn't be shy, because the thing is that we can often get into sort of a warped view of what the community is like, because chances are people watching this stream or later watching this on YouTube, they are the kind of people who consume content, but the vast majority of the players who play Overwatch are not, right? So the vast majority of Overwatch players are like you. They probably have seen, very few, if any, videos, especially not necessarily educational stuff. They might watch the odd entertainment content. But so many people are like yourself, where they just want to tune in to they just want to log into Overwatch at the end of the day, maybe after work, or maybe to relax, and just want to play for a bit. They don't have the time to consume content. And that's where I guess we get the discrepancy between a lot of players, where some people are trying really hard and they think they know all the ins and outs of the meta, and other people are kind of like, hey man, I'm just vibing. And the other point I wanted to quickly touch on before I kind of take it to the others to see what they have to say is, what you're talking about, I think, is a very natural and important principle in the lifespan of a game, because there are innovators and there are perfecters, as I might call them. I think when a game is new, you tend to see the people like yourself who are kind of trial and error, right? So the people who tend to rise to this is true of any game, and I often think of StarCraft 2 as an example of this, because the most famous, perhaps, esports casters of all time, Tasteless and Artosis, they talk about this a lot, that early in the game's life, like StarCraft 2, which is a strategy game, or even Overwatch, the players who are kind of more trial and error, the players who pick things up more quickly, they tend to rise to the top first, because that's what they're good at. That's their skill set, right? They're good at, can I figure out the sort of inner workings, the basics of Mercy, right? Can I figure out how to get the maximum out of Mercy or out of Ana, Zenyatta, whoever it is? And eventually they'll reach a level and other people will learn from them, right? Other people will watch them. Other people will say, okay, look, that's what XYZ is doing. Because you can think about a lot of innovators in early Overwatch, right? The likes of Seagull. I'm thinking like Animatic maybe for Mercy, or, people of that ilk who were kind of big names of a hero to start with. But as the game progressed, there became other people who were much more dominant at that hero, much more well-known. And that's because that's when the second phase of players tends to come in. The players who are good at perfecting and kind of building on the principles that the others set, right? So there are some people who are very, very good at min-maxing. Because I think, 5 years into the life of Overwatch now, we're in the min-max stage. We're at the stage where people are getting, every split hair out of Ana reload cancel or animation cancel, right? So gone are the days where just being like, hey, I think if I position here and use the nade like this, that's really good. Like, no one's really thought of this, but that's really good. And I think that's something I struggle with as well. I tend to be in your category, cuppcaake. I'm much more someone who's better at trial and erroring and figuring stuff out for myself. I'm not so good at perfecting. I wonder if A10, you're maybe more of the perfecting category. How do you feel?
For me, my improvement throughout video games and my career, I really like that analogy though, the way you look at it. For me, I don't know if I might be the perfecter, because I'm not very good at figuring things out or innovating. Like, one thing I've learned over time is that the reason I got good in Overwatch at the beginning is I had a friend who was semi-pro in beta, and then he taught me and he gave me that information. And then when I have that information, I can take it in. But like, I always look at ML7. Any game he touches, he's so good at like figuring it out. He's got that natural, right? So he's really good at like picking it up and that's not a skill that I have. I've always needed like others to give me the information, but when you give it to me, I can integrate it and then grind that out.
Yeah,
it's nice to hear. Because sometimes it's like you feel like you have to, I don't know if it's like you have to prove something. It's like, oh, I need to be the one to figure this out. But I mean, you're basically saying it's okay to not be the one to figure it out. Like, it's totally fine just to be the one to just learn and retain it and then use it.
Yeah,
and I definitely need to do that.
Yeah, it's not a slight at all, because I think, again, everyone knows inherently that you have your own skill set, right? Some people are good mechanically, some people are good tactically, some people are good, ult tracking or other things like that. And I think this is just another extension where some people, again, like you said, A10, like ML is really good. Like, you put him in any game, he'll get to, the top 10% or whatever, a really high percent. And there's, again, Seagull, I think, is another great example. Like, you put Seagull in any game, he's got that kind of mind where he'll kind of poke and prod and figure this out. But again, I think the current age of, best players in the world, they wouldn't have thrived at the start of the game, but they're thriving now because they're really good at taking in that information and pushing it to that next level. So everyone has their own skill sets. And I wouldn't, on your front, cuppcaake, I wouldn't beat yourself up about being one or the other. Just embrace what you are. And on that wholesome note, Adovahkitty, where do you feel on this topic? Where do you land?
I mean, I absolutely agree. Like, there's just everybody is different, and you have different ways of, putting your skills into the game. It kind of reminds me of like how I've known like several coaches that they enjoy coaching people in Overwatch, but they've told me sorry, my cat.
One other barrier to climbing is pets mauling you.
Yeah,
during games.
basically. I've had my cat turn off my computer before during a comp game, so that was fun. But like, there's a lot of people that coach Overwatch. They'll help coach their friends, coach people, but they've told me, they're like, oh, I'm not really great at Overwatch. Like, they might be hard stuck plat, hard stuck gold. Like, they can't climb, but they can teach people how to climb, like, to masters or GM. It's cool. I mean, you can just put any of your skills into the game, and I don't know. I like how Overwatch is like that. Like, there's just so many different play styles.
Yeah, the famous example that everyone always uses is like, Krusty is only plat, the coach of the San Francisco
Yeah.
That's bingo.
Although I saw a funny tweet he made where he was like, someone said that and he quote tweeted and he was like, I was once GM, guys, all right? Like, cut me some slack. But, again, even the coach of the best team in the world can be hard stuck plat. So you're right. There is that discrepancy. But on that note, is there any other things that you feel like are maybe misconceptions that people don't quite get about Overwatch, particularly with Light 2, being in the ranks at Adovahkitty and cuppcaake, you guys are, but also A10, you've seen what I call the metal ranks, right? Plat and below.
Yeah.
Because again, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I don't think like a lot of people that have been in the lower ranks, they really like know what's going on in those lower ranks. Like, sometimes I really do believe in ELO Hell because of just the amount of throwers I've had, especially weekend games. Like, I've had a lot of throwers in weekend games, and sometimes like there's nothing you can do about it. They'll just have people constantly jumping off the map, and the lower the rank I go, like the more I see that. I don't know, it's kind of crazy the amount of people I see do stuff like that sometimes.
Same.
Like, some days are worse than others. Like, I could hop on a gold account and everybody would be in comms, everybody would be great.
Mhm.
All right, it's just, and then some days, just 3 games in a row, I've had levers or throwers.
Yeah, that's definitely my experience too. I agree. Like, there's days where I'm like, I'm feeling it, like I'm doing really well, but then it's just like game after game after game where someone leaves or someone rage quits or someone like throws. And I like will have a bad day and I'll keep trying and trying, and it's just like so consistent. And even just like within the last couple weeks, I dipped into gold, and like my first game into gold, one push and like the team wiped, and then the tank kept going, and then he's raging in chat. He's like, why is my team not with me? And it's like, we're respawning, and he's like, and then he just stands still the rest of the game because he got mad because his dead team didn't push with him, and it's like that's my experience, like, a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I climb when this is what I have to work with? Because like that, like, okay, a lot of things are my fault. Like, there are things I can learn and do and be better, but things like that happen all the time, that's not my fault, Yeah. So I agree with Adova so much. Yeah.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I mean, it probably doesn't happen as much in lower ranks, but that's stuff happens in a high low as well. Like, especially in Masters, it feels like it's an ocean of maybe big egos and.
In my Masters games, I've experienced so much like ego, like. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, if you don't do something that this guy wants you to do, then it's unacceptable. Like, the game's, it's just GG.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, A10. You're here to be the bad guy, right? Because you're the you're the one who's seen it all. So you're kind of here to say, actually, that again, it's the ELO heaven thing, right? You're here to say, actually, that doesn't really get better. And anecdotally as well, I played yesterday. I think I played 10 games, and I think like 3 of them had levers, and on my team, not on the other team. And like a couple more at like,
someone not on the other team. It's always your team.
Yeah, it's always, but that is, one, the nature of anecdotal observation is that, we kind of fixate on the games where we had levers, but not when the enemy team had levers, because we feel like we deserve the wins when they had levers. We were already playing well, we were already winning. And yeah, you just say you take it. But yeah, is that
there's not that many.
I was going to say to you.
Sorry. Yeah, there's not that many levers in high elo, though, I will say. Like, levers are more rare. So that could probably be a lot more common in low elo. It could also be due to PCs maybe, or
it could be just
baby rages.
Because sometimes it is out of nowhere and you're like, what just happened? So it's not because of rage.
I've experienced that as well.
They have a bad internet connection or something and it's just unlucky. But that seems to happen, I don't know.
No, I can understand there's more levers in low elo for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the people that are like more casual players, they're not going to be like super high ranks. Like, they're not going to care more about their SR. So I feel like the lower you go, that's why you see more levers for sure.
Yeah. Or people are like, oh, I have class, I gotta go. Like, that happens like so much. And you're like, then why'd you queue up? And it's like, like, that happens way too often.
I get emergencies, but class, like, you
it's
knew that was gonna happen.
Cool. That's a time. So
is there? No, I mean, and these are all things, again, it's great to hear from you guys as well, because these are things that often, as A10 said, I see in my YouTube comment section a lot as well, where people say, well, it's all well and good SCB, but, you don't understand. There's like a crap ton of levers here. Like, people just throw on a drop of a hat. Is there anything else you'd want to add to that pile of, like, you feel like this is because you guys have been to master in GM and stuff. So is there anything you feel like is happens in gold and plat more so than higher up?
Well, it's been so long since I've been in a higher up rank. But I mean, I think that's pretty much covers the majority of my experience is a lot of levers and throwers. I mean, like over the small, like I said, the smallest little thing will set people off. Like we get like that game that I was talking about, like that was the like second. So first round we did amazing, and it was just attack round that like we defended really well. We didn't even have to push it all the way, but our attack round, I mean, that was it because someone got upset over something really small one time. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my experience a lot.
Have you like noticed maybe the lower you go, the more like sexist comments you get?
To be honest, like I mean, there was definitely a time where it was so excessive for me, and I think even then it was probably when I was in around like plat. I don't really get it a ton anymore. Like I still get it, but it's not as much as I feel like a lot of people would think. And I don't know why that is. And I don't know if it's like if it was worse when I was maining Mercy and it's like all of a sudden just because I'm not maining Mercy, it's like people are less likely to like talk trash to me, which is like super upsetting kind of, to be honest, because that was a big reason why I stopped playing Mercy. Was because not a big I did get burnt out on her, but another part was I just could not like I couldn't take the like, oh, you're just a Mercy main, you got boosted, you get carried, and it's like I've literally have only solo queued my entire Overwatch career, but okay, it's like
it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been experiencing it. Like the account I've been playing recently on stream has been like plat, and it's just been, I think every single day I've been getting at least 2 or 3 sexist comments on like per game. Like I don't like not every game, but like maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Stream. Like it's insane.
A lot.
I've seen it a lot more in my like lower account, I feel like.
Yeah. Probably. I would agree.
I was just going to say, like, this isn't explicitly what the debate, but I really would want to dwell on this a little bit more because it is another facet of the many parts of this whole equation. And you kind of alluded to something there, Cuppcaake, because we've had discussions about this before on the podcast, and often female players have said, yeah, like it's like this, it's kind of this catch-22 situation where if I play Mercy, people flame me for playing Mercy and call me boosted, like you said, or as an e-girl or playing my boyfriend or whatever. And if I don't play Mercy, and let's say I'm a judge to play badly, even whether you're playing badly or not is besides the point. If the team says you're playing badly, they'll flame you because you're not playing Mercy, right? Oh, well, you're playing Ana, you should just play Mercy.
Yeah.
Is that something you agree with, that sentiment?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's happened as much lately. Like, honestly, a lot of time, I think I have more games than where people are like, oh, Ana, you're so good, like you saved my life, you're amazing, da da da, which is like really rewarding. It's great because when you do well and like your teammates like actually have nice things to say, it makes you feel really good. But I think it took me a very, very, very long time to get to that point because when I was learning Ana and I did fall so far and I like fell to plat as I'm like trying to learn, like get more comfortable with Ana. And I would like not do well, and people would be like, "Oh, you're so bad! Like you can't, like you're missing your shots." And it's like, "Well, yeah, I'm missing my shots. That's why I'm in plat." It's like if I didn't miss any shots, I wouldn't be in plat. So definitely, it was a lot of just switch to Mercy type thing, and like it's like, well, how I need to keep trying with Ana to get better at Ana, right? And I can play as much quick play or whatever as I want, but it's different when you're in ranked, and it's like I know that I can do well, but it's like people don't even give you a chance. If you mess up one time, that's it. You're gonna get flamed for it, and you're gonna be, someone's gonna be like switch to Mercy, and then it's like, oh, you're just a Mercy main. So
yeah, and it's really shitty that happens. And Adovahkitty, like you play Moira right now, right? Like is that the same on Moira, or is it different somehow on Moira?
It's been pretty hectic recently. Like, just yesterday, I had somebody tell me, like, hey, you should not be on Moira. You need to be on Mercy. Like, get on Mercy. So, I think I still get about the same.
Right. Obviously, A10, I didn't come to here because we don't really have anything relevant to add to this conversation in that sense. But have you noticed any?
I do have a story.
Go ahead.
My
Go
girlfriend
ahead.
was
Yeah.
playing the I don't know, it was like a week or two ago, and she was just playing with somebody else, and this guy literally just stopped playing the game because she was getting boosted by this person she wasn't partied up with. You know, just
Oh yeah, I've seen that a
yeah,
lot.
absolutely just
Yeah,
shit behavior.
I believe that, because even like if I'm playing Ana and there's a Mercy, like a lot of times I might not be the target of the like the hate or whatever. It's to the Mercy, and a lot of times like they're doing fine, but it's just because they're playing Mercy. Which again, this is a bigger I don't know. It's partially a reason why I stopped playing Mercy, because I was always so frustrated, and it's like, I'm sorry that I enjoy her, and then I happen to be pretty good with her, and then like I climbed with her, but it's like I would rather play Ana and get good at that and be talked less, trash talk to for it, I guess, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Because the reason why I even have yeah, and like when I first started playing and I was doing really well with Mercy, and that's when it started, like season 1 was whenever people started talking about like Mercy mains and boosted, and like that's when all of that started. It was literally in season 1. By season 2, I was like, okay, so I used to play a lot before I streamed. So the account I have now is an account I made in season 2 just to like prove myself that I could get to GM, like solo queuing, by myself, never duoed with anyone. Like you can't say I've been boosted because I've only streamed and I made it to GM. But guess what?
It never stops.
It never stopped. That didn't make any
I've heard that one
difference.
too.
And that's when I realized, I was like, it literally does not matter how much you prove yourself. Like if people want to talk trash to you or put you down, they're going to, no matter what. So it really doesn't matter. Which is why I tell people to just play what you want. Like if you want to play Mercy, play Mercy. It doesn't matter.
It's your free time.
Prove. People are gonna talk trash to you no matter what.
Yeah.
So play what you enjoy.
I soloed
100%.
Moira, and I soloed her all the way up to like 3.8, and I've just been boosted. That's what everybody says, is like, oh, you're just boosted. Like there's just going to be comments like that no matter what.
Yeah, it's cheap jabs just to try and
exactly. And that's why I solo queued, and I got so used to solo queuing. Since literally season 1, I've never had like a duo partner or like a group that I play with, like literally never. And that is also something that I know has like held me back, because it's so much easier. Which when we started doing the tournament, the Overwatch tournament, like a few weeks ago or whatever, like that was the first time in a very long time I was actually like playing with a group of people. And when we did, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like this is way better experience. And so like the last month or so, I've constantly been trying to group up with people. Like I don't even want to play solo queue. I don't care if anyone is like, oh, you're playing with so and so, you're getting boosted. Literally don't care, because it's so much more fun, and that's literally all I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna say this is a real shame, because what you're describing is like a soft barrier as well, right? Like there's obviously being flamed is a barrier enough, right? Because it makes you not want to play the game, or let's say even if you continue to play, maybe you don't want to participate in voice chat anymore, and maybe that would have been beneficial to your team. But on top of that, yeah, if you're solo queuing, some people choose to solo queue, and that's fine. But of course, self-imposing that because of the perceived hate that you're gonna get, that is, like you said, it's a soft barrier, right? It would be, I think A10 probably agrees, usually optimal to climb in duos, right? Duos are usually the best ways to climb. So denying yourself that opportunity is another soft barrier. A10, do you feel like there's any like changes in mentality like across the ranks? Obviously, again, maybe we don't notice the sexism so much because we're not the women talking, but do you notice like as you go up and down, like any differences in just how players are behaving or talking?
Well, since the high elo community in EU is like tiny, it's really small, so it's pretty toxic as well. I'd actually say that they've got their own like set group, but like as it goes through the ranks, I don't spend too much time in low elo, so I can't give a proper answer to that. But I do notice that Masters is generally the kind of like, oh god, here we go again area. So yeah, that's where I put my money on that.
I feel that on a spiritual level. And you also obviously, like myself, sometimes head over to NA. We're both EU, sometimes head over to NA. Do you feel like there's any regional differences in that regard?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The game's a lot smaller now. I'd say back in the day, there definitely was. I will honestly, back in like season 14, I used to stack with some people, and then we'd go to NA because it was free low. It was much easier. But that's because like the time we queued as well. But no, I think there's an insane amount of talent in NA and an insane amount of talent in EU in both of them. Honestly, it just depends when you queue and who's on at the time and that kind of RNG aspect. So,
But no, like anecdotal thing where you're like, I kind of feel like, because some people will always tell me they're like, oh,
Oh, yeah, I
SCB,
went
I
off
think
tangent.
EU's worse. No. Like some people always tell me like, oh, SCB,
Yeah.
I think EU's worse. I think NA's worse. Like you don't have any coin on that one.
No, I don't. I think it depends. EU generally is more stacked, I'd say.
Right.
They're like always on alt accounts, but generally, because there's just so less people. There's just less people. And it's just so, you know, flooded with players. It could be more random, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. Adovahkitty or Cuppcaake, anything to add on that? Because I don't want to cut you off if there's anything else you want to say before I kind of ask another question on a different note.
I don't
This,
think
if
I
you
have
got-
anything to add.
No,
I was going to say, if you got any grievances, air them now.
I think we covered quite a lot of our experience. Yeah.
Well, you're explicitly here to vent, so don't trust me. There's for every thought you have, there's many people who are going to come into the YouTube comments.
Actually,
They're going to say
Cuppcaake
exactly this.
Made me think of something because I can't remember. You were bringing up like oh god, I can't remember specifically. I'm missing it. But basically, the point was like a common misconception that I think people have is that like as you go up in ranks, that people will be more mentally sane or they get nicer or da 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 da. And that's not explicitly what I'm saying you were saying, but I was just noticing. I think you were talking about like something in that general area, but like bad people are bad people all the way through. And I think that's for like the audience to know. That's like just because somebody's got a bigger SR number, it doesn't make them a better person. It doesn't make them less
Absolutely
like toxic. It doesn't. Yeah. So
yeah,
absolutely
people
not.
definitely
Sometimes
get
the
nicer
opposite.
the more they climb. Sometimes it even gets worse. I feel like just because of like ego.
Guess who has a lot of like if the people at the top probably spend a lot of time sitting in their room grinding. They're not going to necessarily be developing social skills, right?
And they often like fixate more on their SR as well. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, anecdotally, sometimes when I'm in gold, where people are a lot less. I mean, sometimes they're not, but sometimes people are a lot less worried about 25 SR because they're just here to play for fun.
Yeah.
I just don't get it though. Like, what? I just don't understand why people like. Do people not see the difference between playing a game and it being like everyone's nice and like just communicating and just versus like flaming and throwing? Like, is that actually fun for them? Like, I just don't understand why all games can't just be everyone's like, let's play the game and like be nice to each other and encourage each other. Like, I don't talk shit to anybody. Like, if anyone like messes up, like I don't make anyone feel bad. I don't like pick on them, but it's like you mess up one time, people are like, and it's like, why can't everyone just?
It's counterproductive.
Yeah, it's like as soon as anyone starts opening their mic to talk crap to anybody, that's when the whole team dynamic just goes like down, and then there's like no recovering it. So it's like, why even?
Some people do with stress. It's like the stress response. Some people can naturally, they get hot-headed or whatever, and some people are more chilled. It depends on like. I do a lot of mental work for like downrank gems, thinking about all this kind of stuff. So it's like a whole like. It's honestly like a development as a person. A lot of the stuff that I've learned myself by improving my own mental and growing from that applies to other stuff in life as well. It's actually kind of cool how it all comes together. But for me, because I was definitely toxic or what's the word when you're kind of sarcastic, passive aggressive.
Sure, yeah.
Like I had an issue with that as well. All these things that I've had to like recognize my triggers, work myself through, and then.
Oh, definitely. Like, I mean, I'm not perfect either. There's definitely times where it's like I get really aggravated, especially, I don't know, a few years ago was like peak for me. I had to learn a lot literally because of Overwatch, because of the people that would talk so much crap to me. And like, I mean, I would get so much like sexism and everything else. And it would make me mad. And then I
Yeah.
was just stooping to their level. And I mean, I would go off and I would like embarrass myself, even like when I'm streaming. But it's like, I'd get so mad and be like, I'm going to stand up for myself. But I had to learn like the hard way that you don't get anything out of that. Like, you have to be really mindful about like what's happening in these toxic situations, and the things that are being said to you, they're really not about you. Like, the things are being said to me, they have nothing to do with me. It's just that person is having a bad day, or they just are like, you know, a mean person or whatever. I don't have to react every time.
Yeah.
And that's something I really tried to like convey to people who watch my stream. It's like, I like the situations I get with toxicity. It's like, hey, see, I get it too. Like, when it happens to you, it has nothing to do with you, just like it has nothing to do with me. So I've had to learn to be mindful to not like give in to those situations.
I think I still
Adovahkitty,
give in
do you agree?
sometimes.
Sometimes you have to give in.
I do
Sometimes when
too.
they're really
Sometimes I
being
just wanna-
dickheads, you have to
We're
let
not
them know.
perfect. I mean, I have my moments too, but most of the time, you know, woosah.
Adovahkitty, do you agree?
Yeah, I feel like Overwatch has really taught me how to just not care what people think of me. Also, you know, streaming has helped me with that too. But like, just you have to like harden yourself to play games like this, like competitive games. And I feel like it's really taught me not to just care. Like, give me that same mindset as you, Cupcake. Like, that they're just having a bad day. They really, it's nothing to do against you. It's what their problems are.
Yeah,
Whatever
kids
they're
are
dealing with. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Hey guys, SVB here. Just gonna quickly interrupt this episode of the Group Up podcast to say that if you're enjoying this content, then please do consider signing up for my Patreon to support me directly. It's really amazing because it allows me to keep making content like this carefree, regardless of how many views Overwatch does or doesn't get. I know no one likes sellout ads, but chances are if you've listened till this far in, then you're at least somewhat enjoying the content. So please do consider at least leaving a like, subscribe, and a comment underneath the video on YouTube. It really does help. But that's it for me. Now back to the discussion. Yeah, I find Overwatch can be quite cyclical in the sense that it's a lot of like one person is having a bad day and they get passive aggressive in chat. They bring everyone else down. Then you go, you know, you lose the game. Next game, you're now the guy who's a little bit salty, who's a little bit passive aggressive because last game, sometimes, you know, I'll be playing a game and someone will come in and they're like, the first call out they make is really salty, right? Like, can we not pick this comp? And it's like, chill. You could just say
Like,
that,
calm
you
down.
know, in a different way. But of course,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy for us to notice the other people being salty. But the tough part is realizing that when we're the ones who are coming into that game with that baggage and a little bit salty, a little bit, you know, pre-tilted is what I like to call it, like pre-tilted and ready to go. And I know this is something that A10 talks a lot about in his, you know, all your videos, A10, you know, the mental aspect is something that I know you're very focused on. And I personally, and I'll then pivot over to you, what you have to say, but I personally find that the times when I was the least stable in that sense, when I was being the most salty, was when I cared the most about my SR, in the sense that I somehow felt like the number would validate me, right? Like if I get X number, then I'll prove something to some people. Again, kind of what you were alluding to earlier, Cupcake, where it's like, if I can get GM with Mercy solo, then I'll prove something to some people. Of course, as you realize, as I realize, as everyone I think eventually realizes, there is no magic number, there's no achievement that fixes
That's why I
all
stopped
these
caring about
problems.
my rank. It's like, I don't care what my rank is. I just want to have good games that are enjoyable with good teammates. That
Which
like,
is still hard sometimes. So,
Yeah.
or a lot of times.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the problem. It's like that doesn't happen a lot. So
But yeah, A10, I think
feel
that's
that.
a lesson that I've always tried to tell players is just, you know, stop caring about the number, because I think the people who really obsess over the, well, if I lose this game, I lose 25 SR.
Yeah, outcome driven.
That's where it really goes. Yeah.
I did a psychology degree and I kind of brought it into, or like the qualitative dissertation part. It wasn't big. It was pretty small, but I kind of focused on this as well. And so when I realized it's like that, it's the meaning that you attribute to the game. Like, how much does this game, the outcome matter? How much does it, like, right? The more meaning we put on it, the more likely people get tilted. Like, you cannot, I feel like the meaning, or like that value is always there when someone's tilted. There's always like that extra pressure. So like, I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easier said than done. I think the other thing we have to remember is there's so many different types of people who play the game, right? There's everyone from your 15-year-old coming back from school to, you know, the 50-year-olds who are gamers for life kind of thing. Sorry, you were going to say something, A10.
If I could talk about like the kind of the solution I kind of got
Please do,
to
yeah, go
from
ahead,
that,
please
'cause
do.
it's well, it's what you said earlier as well, like recognizing when you're getting upset, recognizing when you're in that state, and then I had to find my triggers and why I got upset, and I had to like instead of it's actually it's difficult to not it's difficult to think straightforward, but the more you like understand yourself, the more you can just avoid them, the more you can reassign the value. So instead of being outcome driven, like why are you pressing play? Like, are you pressing play to win the game? Oh, good luck. You're going to get throwers, you're going to get levers, it's not going to happen. It's not 100%. So then I try to teach people like, okay, find something else to focus on. Maybe you want to work on positioning or timings or flanks or the map or whatever it is for the character, and then find enjoyment through like pretty much the journey, right? You can find enjoyment in having a good time with, like Cuppcaake was saying, just having a good time with people, like making sure it's a good game or having fun. Then people often just stop
Yeah.
getting as tilted because you're succeeding while losing.
Yeah.
On top of many other things.
You don't buy a game to like argue. You buy a game to have fun.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. And even if you have that one person that's throwing and it's going to be a loss, I find that sometimes the most fun games like in that situation is you have other teammates that are like you, that's like, okay, like why are we throwing right now? I don't get it. All right, well, we'll just kind of pretend like they don't exist. We'll just keep playing, and like we end up like laughing and having a good time and still enjoying ourselves, even though we know it's going to be a loss because we have a whole person that's literally jumping off a map or whatever. But we still find a way to have fun. It doesn't have to be like everyone's upset and mad and angry at the person throwing. It's like, well, we can't really do anything about it. We can't make them not throw. We might as well find a way to enjoy this time that we have.
Yeah. I've always seen like if something like that happens, the other team, the one that's like not having a thrower, they'll be like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Do you want this achievement? Do you want the achievement?" Like, I think that's like really sweet. It's like gamers coming together.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, this gamer's gonna have to come in and be the bad guy here because I'm already anticipating. I like to do this. I already like to anticipate what the YouTube comments are gonna criticize me for when I'm hosting. So I'm gonna bring this up here. Does the game promote some of these more toxic behaviors, and to keep it relevant to the topic, help create ELO hell? Because if we take something like this toxicity, for example, one of the sources is that there's a really vast discrepancy in the knowledge and also the intentions of everyone playing, right? So I think this is really key in ranks like Plat and Gold. Some people are playing and they watch Overwatch League 24/7. They know everything. They've memorized the IO Stuck's GOATs document page to page, whatever it is, that they've kind of spent their life on it. And then there's people who just log in and they're just playing the fun. And competitive is ultimately where both sets of people end up. That's one source of tension. People will say, well, stuff like private profiles, gold medals, these also create false positives for players to feel like they're all the ones doing well and the teammates are bad, and therefore nobody starts looking at their own gameplay. Everyone's flaming everyone else. And again, these all create systems which allow people to sit in their rank and pat themselves on the back. So does the game actually encourage these kind of behaviors?
I think that will always be unavoidable no matter what, because players will always hook onto something. So within that context, I don't think the game necessarily like does it explicitly. But I think one issue with Overwatch is like it doesn't teach you a lot of these fundamentals. Like I got to 4.7 while actually being pretty bad at the game. I just abused the ladder. I abused the system. But then when I got coached and I actually learned, I'm like that guy was bad. Like now I understand the fundamentals. I understand all these other things. And like I said, I'm not innovative. I have to be taught some of these things, right? That's through coaches. That's through all these other people. So I think that then in lower elos, like they don't have access to that information. So then if they'll start getting upset, or why is this not happening? Why is da. I think that's kind of where the game creates that, I guess. Maybe hopefully that made sense. Maybe I got lost in my mind. Yeah.
So what you're saying is like the ladder system isn't actually teaching people the right way to play.
Yeah, there's no like actual like natural resources. It's just like that F1. There's no all these fundamentals are can be more abstract rather than shown. And I think Blizzard could have done a way better job at making sure that's available for people. Genuinely.
cuppcaake, Adovahkitty, either of you agree, disagree on just the premise of this whole thing?
I agree. I think like the medal system can definitely cause some toxicity, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think it also can be fun for the gamers like just as much though. Like I don't know, I think like as a DPS, seeing that you got a gold medal, it can give you a sense of like you did good. I think like people just decide to use that. Like if Overwatch
Hog
implements literally
players.
anything, yeah, hog players basically.
Like feeding or
It's
like
like,
the
yeah, you have golds because you're feeding.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just think that like anything Overwatch could put in the game, people will use for toxicity. Like if somebody's going to be toxic, they're going to find ways to be toxic in the game though. So it's like a yes no for me, but that's kind of where I stand on it.
cuppcaake?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that it's like there's so many different mentalities towards the game, and like the way you think differently than other people. Because like in those situations, you have like if I'm in a situation and I'm playing Ana and I have like gold, elims or something, I'm not sitting there gloating and being like, well, I have gold elims as Ana, so obviously like I'm better, or it's like I know that's nothing to do with anything. It's I don't know, but the way that people do take those things and turn it into something toxic that then brings the team dynamic down and kind of sways the whole, I don't know, the game to go a different way. I don't know. So yeah, I think people will always find something and make it a toxic situation when it doesn't have to be. But it's like, how do you get everyone else to be on the same page as you and to not look at those things to gloat about, or to hold it over someone's head, or to start a little bicker on the team, rather than figuring out why that's happening and what needs to change and how to do it as a team.
Yeah, if I can add on to
Make
that.
sure I don't have gold elims as on it. Like yeah.
I agree that a lot of players who are also new to the game, when they come in, like their only measurement of like success will be those medals. Because I get a lot of comments of like, A10, I'm losing with 4 golds all the time, or da 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 da. It's like, which is fair, right? Like
Yeah.
for them, that's their own
Yeah.
system. But then on the other end, it's like that there's more to the story. So
Yeah.
I
I
feel
don't
like
even look at them, to be honest. I don't look at my.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll look at is like, oh, if I do like 20k plus heals as Ana or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's cool, But it like, I don't typically focus on those numbers, because the grand scheme of things is how you work as a team and how effective it was, regardless of what your medals or the numbers are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of going like by what A10 said, is also like a lot of the new players coming into Overwatch, they're from other FPS games, and all of those have like a medal system that are more important to the game. So I just think a lot of people can use the medal system to be toxic too. So I do agree with that a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. The medals is one of those things where I think that the majority of the community is like, medals mean nothing. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that there wasn't some part of me when I'm like really feeling annoyed at my team. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm bronze damages and yada. One of these DPS is absolute garbage or something like that. Like sometimes it does creep in these behaviors. It's quite easy, even though we might reject them. It's quite easy to fall into them when we're, really feeling quite salty. But I did have again, I'm going to start getting a little bit more spicy with these questions. And I'm going to direct this one at cuppcaake. Don't worry, you guys. I've got ones coming for the others too. But another thing, I'm again anticipating the YouTube comments. Someone's going to say, well, cuppcaake doesn't watch content, right? She doesn't watch content. Yeah. She doesn't try to learn. She doesn't try to learn and improve the game. Yeah. I don't want a player like her in my competitive mode. Like, I play comp because I want to improve and I want to get better. cuppcaake is not watching content. cuppcaake is the kind of person who's ruining my game, and cuppcaake is the kind of person who should not be playing. What would you say to them?
Okay, and that's fair, because I mean, part of me does agree, because I think that I would be even better if I watched content or, took advice or whatever. But at the same time, it's not like I'm completely like not understanding the fundamental of my job as like Anna. It's not like just because I don't watch content or like, you know, spend a bunch of time like researching me, like I gotta be the best, I gotta do the best plays. I'm still able to, you know, do my job and understand the mechanics of the game and what we need to do and how we need to do it and where I need to be and who I need to be focusing on, especially because I guarantee you, if I am the person put on any of these people's teams that are like, I don't want her on my team because she doesn't watch, I guarantee you, I will be the one using comms. I guarantee you, I'm the only one trying to push communication or trying to push coordination, especially with like a plat team. I will definitely be the one, you know, trying to communicate with my tank, you know, like when I can see you or where I need you to pee or where you need to be or where you know, when I can nano you or whatever. I'm going to communicate it, and that is like huge in itself, is communication, which a lot of games lack, and that is something that I make up for. Is
Who doesn't want a teammate that tries, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
have
like I'm the one trying, and like, and I'm, you know, I still like I land my shots, like I can heal. You know, it's like I'm gonna keep you
honestly,
alive.
those people are unfair. Like the person says like, oh, they're the one wanting to improve, and they're the ones that like, I don't want that kind of player or whatever, like that kind of stuff. It's like they're delusional. It's like, if you truly want to improve, focus on the things you can control. You're not going to control the teammates you're going to get in your game. Like,
yeah,
you can focus more on yourself. It's like,
yeah, and what you can do.
Yeah, I feel like YouTube comments is a dangerous place.
Yeah, I don't usually read them, to be honest.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't read them. Like anything I've ever done, people have something negative to say, but it's at the same time I read it and I'm like, yeah, you're like, it's definitely a different, you know, point of view than what I have. It's like, I feel like a lot of people are, you know, even people that watch my stream, they see I'm in plat, but they're watching like I land my shots, you know, I give off really good nanos, like I'm, you know, communicating with my team, I'm trying to coordinate even if they're not really listening that well, like I'm still, you know, trying to take charge and coordinate our team, and a lot of times it's like saves us in certain situations. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'd love to have you on my team," even though I'm flat and I don't watch content, but it's like
100%.
a lot of people don't have that on their team, you know?
Yeah. I don't think you need to watch content to like climb, or that like validates a player or whatever. Like literally sounds like you're better than a good teammate. You know what I'm saying? If you try, you're coming. It's.
I mean, I can improve. Like I don't think
Everyone
I'm like,
improve.
oh, I should be in masters. I don't think that I should be in masters or anything. You know,
those
it's
people
like,
will be typing at you. Those are the ones that like are.
Oh yeah, if anyone's like, oh, she thinks
everything.
she's in plat and she should be in like master. No, I don't. Like, you know,
No,
maybe
I
if
mean like they themselves think they should, and then they're like criticizing.
Yeah. But like, it's like maybe if I did watch content and I did, you know, research more or whatever, then maybe eventually. But like, you know, I think that I probably am fair in my rank between like plat, maybe even diamond. But like, you know, I'm not saying like, oh, I should be way better. But it's when I'm like dipping into gold and stuff, and I'm like, you know, there gets to a point where it's like, I don't think I should be here necessarily. But you know, I don't think, yeah, I definitely have room for improvement for sure. But I also know that I'm a good teammate for my rank for sure. So,
well,
I land my sleep darts. So
I'm gonna quickly ask if Adovahkitty has anything to add, and then I got my question for A10.
I kind of agree with like there's some times where you just absolutely dip farther down than where you think you should be, but
we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring that up too. Don't worry.
It kind of makes me truly believe in ELO Hell, but I don't know. I also stand with what I said earlier. Like it's just it's all situational. Overwatch is just a very situational game. But I mean, I very much agree. Like there's always, like I said, there's always room for improvement, and just good players know that. So I do agree.
Well, we're being too nice here. So I have to ramp it up. I'll actually defer. I'll come back to A10 in a sec. I'm gonna probe on this line of inquiry here. So, Adovahkitty, have you ever dropped to a rank you feel like I shouldn't be here? Yeah, like first, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So therefore, could there not be a large swathe of other players who feel like, hey, I'm the same. So when I'm complaining about ELO Hell, it's because I've dropped for whatever conspiratorial reasons the rank system is doing to me. I've dropped for that reason. Therefore, ELO Hell can exist because I can be in a rank I shouldn't be in.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that, like, with Overwatch being such a situational game, like, everybody could have their own, like, different stories, like, different things happening. So, I mean, some guy really might be going through ELO Hell if, you know, he keeps getting, like, super unlucky with his games, or I mean, of course, like, if you're truly, like, amazing and hardcore carrying, then, like, then it like I said, it's situational. Like, then you wouldn't be in that rank. Like, you would be carrying. But sometimes you just can't carry
Yeah,
bad
I've got.
people.
I've had to see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, all the people that do, like, because a lot of times I'm like, how am I supposed to carry a support? You know, when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and I'm communicating and people just aren't trying. Like, how do I carry as a support? But then you watch people do like the bronze GM and they're like, well, they did it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't say anything because it can be done. So that's when you have to like kind of look at yourself because they're like, well, other people have done it. So I should be able to. Like,
It's difficult. Overwatch is
Yeah.
a really difficult game. Like straight
Mhm.
up, it really, really is.
For sure. I concur. Like, I think there's, especially when there's any team-based game, I think a ladder system becomes very difficult because if you're running like a 1v1 game, if it's chess or StarCraft, it's still
Fun
fairly
games.
straightforward because, well, here we go. Is 1v1. One person is better than the other. One person deserves to go up. One person deserves to go down. Or especially if you get them to play multiple games. Or maybe they win one game out of luck or they cheese their way to a win. But you get them to play 5-10 games. The more games you get them to play, that one person who's better will come out on top. Not always the same for Overwatch because there's so many variables, not least the many teammates in your lobby. But A10, it seems like you want to chime in here.
Yeah, I thought about that one as well. But the way I've always explained that is like, because you're right, the ladder, the matchmaker just has a number like per person, right? That person could be having a good game. We all have bad games. We all have good games. We all have whatever. We're too tired. We've been playing too long. Blah blah blah. So it's just impossible to get that consistency of like those amazing games where everyone's coming and having a good time. There's always going to be like that super randomness, the bad teammates, the everything to it. I don't think that's fixable, or I don't see a world where that's fixable really.
Well, that's an area again, I think we'll come when we're coming towards the end. That's definitely an area I want us to focus on and what maybe we'd like to see changed and improved.
Okay.
But now I'm going to come to this question A10 because, again, I know there's going to be people begging me, SEB, talk about Smurfs. Because none of you mentioned it in the misconception section, but this is the maybe number one, maybe number two thing that people always say to me when they're like, you know what is the biggest thing actually, SEB, that you forget when you're playing in whatever you play in is the number of Smurfs. And A10, some might be listening to this podcast and they might be watching this and saying, you got Chief Smurf over here, A10. Who's got, so many unranked GM accounts, so many accounts. He's been throwing so many people's games, hundreds of games, whatever, thousands of games. So what leg does someone like A10 have to stand on when he's out here ruining the games of good, hardworking gold players?
Yeah, I sometimes the way I could look at it is multiple ways. I have Smurfed a lot. I've done a lot of Smurf games. I have ruined a lot of games. And I put my hands up to that. Shameless, right? There's like multiple reasons for that. But what leg that's that? Yeah, the way I've always explained Smurfs to people that say that, because some people will be like, "Oh, Smurfs are great. You get to get pooped on and you get better. You get to learn." Da da da. Because it's impossible to learn without losing. That's just like the number one rule of everything, right? So it would make sense to think like, "Oh, Smurfs are beating me, therefore I must be improving." Well, A, not everybody wants to be in that like, I want to be in that like learning mentality. That's really draining. Some people want to play for fun. B, there's Smurfs, and then they're like diamonds to maybe gold or whatever, and then there's Smurfs of like GM to gold, right? Those lobbies are going to be really different, and if you can't even get out of your spawn, you're not going to learn anything, right? So that all depends on like the games where you're just getting dominated, you can't move. Those are awful games. Like those are just, you can't salvage them. They're bad. It is what it is. That's not a good experience. But to a certain degree, it is true where it's like if there's a Smurf like I said, if it's not like someone who's absolutely just solo dominating the game, there's a grain of truth to like the improvement thing to it. But yeah, hopefully that.
Yeah, no, I mean,
makes
look,
sense.
I understand the POV, but again, I think it's incumbent
Yeah,
on
what
me
does
to
he
kind
do?
of probe you a little bit more and say,
Yeah,
well,
I would like that.
again, the other thing is, people, another thing people always say to me is, well, yeah, sure, I could learn from Smurfs, but I didn't sign up for that, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to play, and you're making the games unfun, right? Okay, maybe you're not the reason I'm stuck, but you're making my games unfun, and I only play 5 games a week, and the Smurfs are in half of them, and it just makes me not want to play Overwatch anymore.
I agree. Sucks to suck, I think. I mean, if you're asking, like, if people want me to be a solution to that, it's impossible. There's tons of Smurfs everywhere. It's just
I might have a unpopular opinion, but I kind of like, I think that Smurfs are fine. Like, I think it's kind of the experience of Overwatch. Like, I think, like, you get a look into just how a higher rank would play, and it also can teach you like how to play against them. And Smurfs are going to be in like maybe every other game you get. So I think it kind of makes it a little bit more challenging, and you get a better understanding of high rank's playstyle. So I don't know. It's very frustrating. Like, I hate it when my team gets Smurfs. Yeah, like I hate it when my team gets against Smurfs. Like, it sucks. But I mean, it's just Overwatch. That's how it is. Like, there's nothing that is probably gonna be done about it. Like, because people can keep buying accounts. Like, there's nothing really to be done. Like, it's just kind of the game.
Okay, do you anything you feel on this?
So, I agree, but then okay, I agree that a lot of times, like, when you have Smurfs in your game, and sometimes it is fine because it is a bit more of a challenge, and like it helps you learn for sure. But then when it happens, like you were saying, whenever they're like spawn camping, like you can't get out of spawn. Like, how do you learn?
It's not a gameplay experience. Yeah.
There's no gameplay experience. But at the same time, I guess what I wish is that in those situations when that's happening, my mindset is, okay, so we're trapped in spawn. They're, annihilating us. They're better than us. What can we do? Like, what can we do to get out of this situation and like maybe even have a chance? But the mentality of most people on your team is, GG, it's over. Like, we just troll. Like, we're done. Give up. And it's like, why take that situation and just give up so fast when you could utilize it to like learn something, or at least try? Even like, yay, teamwork. Like, let's try to have fun. But like, just giving up and just spending the rest of the game just sitting in spawn while your team just like sits in spawn.
Literally the most disheartening.
Yeah. Like, it's a waste of time. It's like, it doesn't have to be a waste of time.
It's a team-based game. Like, I think those experiences are wonderful to learn, like to help you learn how to play with a team and like to get that teamwork experience and skill set. Like, I think like those are the most fun games where you just have a really challenging opponent team, and you get to like if your team is wanting to like use like to like do teamwork and try and win, I think that's like probably one of the most funnest games you can have.
Like, when you win a 5v6.
Yeah.
We did that,
It's so rewarding. And
it's really rewarding.
That's why you don't give up just because one person leaves. Like, every time we have one person leave, I'm like, all right, well, we just gotta try a little harder. But most people's mentality is, GG, we're done.
Yeah.
I think we're a lot. Sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna say, I think what a lot of people also say is that, fine, that's all well and good. Sure, I can learn. Sure, I'll have a really tough game and I can improve. Maybe there's a particular, let's say there's a Widowmaker Smurf and I actually find a way to find her and kill her and I feel great. But I think what a lot of people also say in this discussion is, well, they're so rampant, the Smurfs, that there's just, the competitive integrity of ranked is gone. That, yeah, okay, I can learn, but how can I really climb when every other game someone's manipulating their SR to some sense? So how do you respond to that?
You don't get a break from it to climb a little bit. I can see that too.
I think you're harping on like a bigger picture thing here. Smurfs ELO Hell, winners, losers, are all these like things that like there's a thing for this. If you're aware of something, you're gonna see it more or whatever. I said
Observation
it
bias.
right.
Or confirmation bias. Confirmation
Information
bias.
bias. Like there's a lot of things that can be true in that regard. So let's say you see a Smurf, you give up. You get that mentality of you're gonna play worse. Like mental is so important for climbing. I'm like so important. So if you get that mental damage or you get in your head about all these abstract things, they are gonna hold you down. You're not wrong, right? So I think that's a big part of that because, like I said, it could be a Smurf that is just somebody learning a new hero on an alt account. It could be a who knows, right? Obviously, I'm not going to defend the games where people are getting spawn camped. Bad experiences shouldn't happen. Feels bad, but that's not all Smurf games. I don't think all Smurf games are like that. For
Yeah,
the people that say that they're getting held back like that.
And this is where I'm going to let go of Devil's Advocate SCB and chime in with my own take on it, which is that I've actually done some research on this. So I actually made a video, I don't know, a couple of months ago now, where I actually asked a bunch of players to collect the game data that they were having. So I asked players from a whole bunch of ELOs to just record the games that they were having. And all I asked them to do was record the levels of every account in the lobby and then whether they won or like who won or lost. And then we collected all that data to kind of bring an aggregate, graph and correlational result thing going on about how the level of an account correlates with win rates. And if you're interested in that topic, go find that video in my channel. I think it's called Why Smurfs Aren't Ruining Your Game, something like that. But TLDR is that actually in the true medal ranks, so like gold and below, accounts that are sub level 50, sub level 100 actually have a negative win rate. So they have like 45% win rate. So they actually have a less than, so what you think is like, because one of the things what you're talking about, A10, is like observation confirmation bias. Because you see a new account and you automatically think, well, that must be someone who's very, very good and someone who's here to stomp me. But of course, there's many people who can have alt accounts for any number of reasons. And I think particularly the matchmaker, again, we don't know for sure, but my opinion is when it comes to new players, the matchmaker tends to boost them more than it tends to push them down. Like a new account tends to go higher than maybe where the main is than lower. So what ends up happening is a lot of players who make new accounts end up maybe higher or already where they're supposed to be. And then they start falling a little bit because they're actually not equipped. So let's say you're a platinum tracer main and you decide to make an alt account to play support. It might put you in platinum, but you're not there yet. And you end up actually losing games and you actually have a sub 50% win rate because you're not there yet. Or you're a genuinely new player and the game puts you in silver, but you're genuinely new. And you actually end up losing more games than you win because the matchmaker is so afraid of Smurfs. It's so desperate to push Smurfs out that it actually tends to, in my opinion, boost people up a little bit higher. So anyways, the data's there. You can have a look at it. You can agree or disagree, but it's kind of fair. As far as data goes, it's fairly unbiased, I'd like to think. We just asked them to record the level. And yeah, the actual, funnily enough, again, to finish on that note, the rank where the Smurf account mattered the most, or the level mattered the most, was actually Master. So if you find a sub level 50 account in Master, that's probably a real legit like GM Smurf, because you don't get to climb that fast, that high without being very good.
Sense. Yeah.
But generally, if you see, basically, again, what we found is the closer you get to level 100, the closer someone tends to get to their true SR. Just because over time, and I think that's, if I was to say anything to people who are very frustrated, I think it's an issue of time. But a lot of people's gripes are actually with their time with the game and not necessarily the individual experiences of losing to a Smurf. Because a lot of what I hear people say is, okay, yeah, it's ruining the competitive integrity. But again, the true answer is enough games will remove these variables, remove these anomalies, right? So the levers, the throwers, enough games, if you play enough games, the enemy team will have as many throwers and levers as you, and then your skill comes through. But of course, I also understand people are like, well, I don't have time to play 100 games, SCB, it's a fucking game. So I understand that too. But any thoughts from you guys? I've ranted on for a little bit on the whole Smurf issue.
I think that's very interesting. Like whenever we get a bunch of like under level 50 players on the enemy team, like sometimes I just see people like, oh, well, GG, like that's too many Smurfs, like we're totally gonna lose. Like that's pretty interesting that they don't have that high of a win rate.
Yeah, it was fascinating to me as well. But yeah, it's actually like, so I can just see here. So basically, lower than 2,500 have a 43.7% win rate if they are sub level 50, and a 43.3% if they're sub level 100. So basically, again, if it's a new account and it's in gold or below, it's probably bad. It's probably someone who's bad and actually lower than, or should be lower than where they currently are. So anyways, those are my
Makes sense,
findings.
yeah.
Feel free to
Yeah.
find your own.
So I think it's like the difference between like the diamond Smurf and the higher rank Smurf. It's like those higher rank Smurfs will, unless they're throwing, get past those ranks. Like they're, I don't think, unless it's placements, that's the only time I touch gold, because then by that time it's, you know, you're past it, etc. So probably would just be someone's alt account, right? Or someone Smurfing. It won't be the destructive. It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
that.
anything else to add before we kind of move topic? No. Okay. Well, that
Maybe
that
it'll
kind
come
of
into my
leads.
brain later.
Sure. Well, that kind of leads into nicely into just general ideas about what can be changed, because obviously we said, you know, well, there's not that much we can do about Smurfs. To some extent, they will always agree, but what can we do? Like, not just about Smurfs, but is there anything in particular that you think would maybe help with the idea of ELO Hell or people getting stuck about changing the ladder system or just Overwatch as a whole?
I think that
Cuppcaake, I see you
something
pondering.
that
Yeah, go ahead.
I think hear a lot of people talk about like your like hidden MMR, and like if there was like a reset of that, then like because of the way the rank system goes, and like pretty much, I mean, in my experience, pretty much wherever you end the season, the next season, that's where you place, even if you do well. But that's how my placements usually always go. And the thing with me is, I may have peaked, you know, high plat, but then you know, the last few days of the season it goes really, really, really bad, and like you get extra throwers and stuff, and you just drop like within a few days you're low plat, and then the next season you place low plat, and it's so hard to like climb back up. So it's like, but then it's kind of like what you were saying. So it's like if you were to just do a fresh account, you're going to place higher for sure. I mean, usually, like, I mean, I've done that. Maybe I only have like one account I've ever done that on. It's been a long time, but I placed, you know, diamond. But then like, but I'm stuck in like low plat on my main account. But if I were to keep playing that diamond account, you know, if I just go back to plat, then it's like, what's the point? You know? So I don't know if anyone else has anything to say about like that.
Yeah, so
but
hidden. So you started on
see
sort
that.
of hidden MMR, right? So you feel like,
Yeah.
what do you?
I
kind
don't
of,
know for sure if that would make a difference or not, but I just know that is something that
Like
I've
a reset.
yeah,
or
like
full
a
reset?
reset, so that way it doesn't
mean,
go
we would
off
love
of
that.
your last, you know, season. Like I would love for it to not just base off of where it ended the
There's
season.
never been like a full MMR reset. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
was
they've
about
done
to
it
say.
Exactly.
once.
Which is why I just keep like,
Yeah.
you know, because
There's
the
also
end of
people
the
are boosted
season
by metas as
always
well.
was terrible for me.
Yeah.
And I know it's the same for a lot of people. So you just drop, and then you start the season, the next season, fresh down at the bottom. And if you can't like climb up because you're getting like gold plat in your teams instead of like mid, you know, plat or diamond, a lot of times it's harder to climb. And it's just like you just feel stuck. So I would love for that to change, just the way they do the like your ranking at the beginning of a season. Or at least based off of like where you peaked or something, you know, not where you ended.
Yeah,
Adovahkitty, how
It's
do you
really
feel?
hard to peak somewhere, and then like what would you get from it if you have like a bad streak at the end?
Well, actually, sorry, I'm going to quickly chime in. I do really want to hear from Adovahkitty, because I know Adovahkitty, I'm sorry, I haven't given you enough time for a little bit, but why would you fixate on your peak and not where you spend most of your time? Because this is another interesting player behavior, is all of us tend to
Well,
fixate on
'cause-
our peak as a
yeah.
true reflection of ourselves and not where you spend most of your
Not
time.
for me.
Well, a lot of times my peak is like where I've spent, you know, or close to my peak. So like say I may have peaked at like 2,700, but for the most part I'm pretty consistent between like 25 to, you know, 2,700. Like
Mhm.
that's pretty much where
Yeah.
I stay the whole season. But I'm saying the problem is at the end of the season it drops, and you all of a sudden you're like dropping down, you know, a few hundred SR, and then you're like 2,200, you know, or something, and it's like, and then that's how you end the season, even though the most of the season you're like 25, 27. You ended
Yeah,
at
but I don't
22.
think-
Next season you replace 22. You know, it's like
I don't think a system can know that though. Like who's specifically dropping like at the end and like that's too I think a system can do that. That makes, you know?
Well, I think it just goes off of whatever you end the next season when you place. It
Yeah.
like just goes off
That's
that
what I've
number,
always.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
Because I
No, but
always,
in your and
always
what I'm saying in your world, it would have to consider that you would drop at the end and then take the peak, right? But let's say for somebody else, they peaked really early on, and then they like weeks earlier they had dropped, and then they weren't grinding it back, whatever. Like that person should stay down there, right? Right, to the person who drops at the end because of the low quality games.
probably. But I mean, but then again, like, should there be a way to like accurately like take your even your average, you know, at that point? Because if you spend the whole season at like 2,500 plus, and then like the last week or so you drop, it's like, shouldn't it be able
Yeah.
to somehow know like, okay, maybe they're not
Yeah,
supposed
it
to be
could.
like this low, maybe, you know, but it's like it is very,
It
very
could.
consistent for me to place, even if I do
Yeah.
well, you know, win all of my placements. I
I agree.
usually
They don't do
always
much. They really don't do much anymore.
Yeah,
I feel like
placements
season's kind
don't
of pointless.
matter.
Which
I
makes it
always place
frustrating,
like where I've ended off on. Like that's always where I am. Like I don't care
even if
about
that's not where
placements.
you normally were, right? Like,
Yeah. It's.
do you guys feel like sorry, Adovahkitty, go ahead.
Oh, I was just adding on. It's like, yeah, placements just don't really matter anymore. Like you could win them all and you're probably just gonna end at the same SR.
yeah. I guess I just wish that they did matter a little bit more, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
I do too.
were, you know, yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
just an MMR reset would be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've never had one. I think it's time. I think it's time.
At least
Yeah.
for Overwatch 2. I think they said they're not going
Yeah.
to, by the way. I'm pretty sure they said they weren't going to.
Okay,
What,
that's good
Overwatch
to
2?
know.
That could be definitely wrong.
I don't remember hearing them say anything definitively on
okay,
whether they're
okay.
going to or
Then
not. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I'm wrong.
you know I might have missed it. So you might not. You might be onto something. I
There's
just
not
don't.
been like enough news where we can miss something.
No. Also, I also being honest, I don't think they may have necessarily made all the decisions they need to make.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I don't think they
Yeah.
would throw that
Yeah.
out this far ahead of time and be
Yeah,
like, "That's 100% our stance."
Yeah.
I do want to just keep probing, if you guys don't mind, a couple of these ideas because a lot of interesting things here. One, obviously, pros and cons in MMR Reset, but the other thing you guys are alluding to is like the end of season games because you guys, if I'm correct, are saying that the end of season games are perhaps worse quality than the rest of the season.
By far. Like, it's so
Yeah.
consistent every season.
Just people want to D rank or just don't care. Like, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that placements really don't matter. So maybe people just don't matter. Like near the end of the games, like end of the season.
Or people are like, oh, I got to end better. So they're like, you know, I got to force it. But then you're just like forcing it for
Or they go
the
nuts.
rank. Yeah. You would think that in the seasons when everyone would like be like, okay, let's really focus and try.
Right? Yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't go that way. Or at least maybe that, I don't know, is that just a plat?
Well, I think again it comes back to what we were saying earlier. It's like there's two types of people probably who are going to try really hard in the season. People who haven't played at all the season, they're like, shit, I got to place.
Yeah,
Or the people
that
who are
too.
desperate, the people who are desperate to reach a certain threshold that they haven't reached yet. And so, as we said earlier, the people who are fixating really hard on a certain number they're trying to get, they're going to be the salty ones who are really easily
Ones
tilted. So,
frustrated.
because again, if you're, let's say you're 2,700, right, you're in the bang in the middle of an SR, you're probably not like, okay, in this last day I can grind 300 SR and climb to diamond. So you're just playing. But the people who are maybe 2,900, they're going to come on, they're going to say, okay, if I win enough games in this last day, I can get diamond and I'll finish the season diamond. And then they start going 50-50 or they lose, they're going to get more and more frustrated. They're chasing that end of season high. And then they come into your game and they're mad as hell. So that's one hypothesis. We can't really know. But
Actually, I agree with that. And on top of that, there's also people, like you said, doing their placements. So you're going to have people who are have not been grinding, who are going to make more mistakes. They're going to get more tilted. It's going to be this whole disaster formula. Sorry,
exactly.
just
It does make sense. So again, I'll lead on to the MMR reset. So why would you think it's a good thing? Any of you? I'll go to Adovahkitty. Sorry, Adovahkitty, we haven't heard too much from you. Go ahead. Why do you think MMR reset would be a good thing?
I think like there's a lot of people that have had accounts for a long time, and of course they're going to be improving, or maybe during some metas they're not as good. I think after such a long time, like it's been 6 years since Overwatch has been released. I think it's time, like, you know, we get a reset. I mean, so many people have these main accounts that they love, and they would like their main accounts to reflect how they are now. And I think an MMR reset would benefit that a lot. It'd benefit a lot of the older players.
Agreed, 100%. Because our accounts have like all of our skins that we've had since season 1. You know what I mean? Like We have all of
Yeah.
our skins, all of our stuff. We don't want to just like make a new account. And like we were saying, it like a reflection of where we are now, because I switched to Ana in like season 12. And even then I was like, you know, close to diamond. I was not a diamond Ana player, but like I have gotten so much better since season 12. Way better, you know, but my rank does not reflect my improvement at all. So I think a hidden MMR would change that, to be honest. And again, that's not me saying I would all of a sudden be like masters, no, but I wouldn't be like struggling to not fall into gold sometimes.
Yeah, I've always wondered, like, so I used to be hardcore DPS main, and I had placed so long ago on when Roll Q was released, and I have gotten a lot better on Tracer, but I haven't really been playing her much in competitive. I'd like to, see where I'd be with her, like, now. Like, I want, because I'm still, at that rank where I used to be. Like, I'd like to, have that MMR reset and see where I am now on her.
Yeah, that's
But
fair. There's also a lot of old players that used to be high elo that quit the game, and then they come back and they're ruining high elo
I've
lobbies.
seen that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't
Yeah.
even want to. They're saying, "Why am I in this lobby?" You know, they don't want to be there. So that's another issue there.
Yeah,
Or
like people are
off-roll
scared to come back.
SRs as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just saying, yeah, off-roll SRs as well, because, if you placed before roll lock, you're off. Like, I always give myself an example. I was the tank. Like, I basically did 0 hours of competitive on my SVB main, and I literally, so that was before roll lock. I was GM, and I did not play DPS until like 3 seasons ago at all. And then I placed my DPS for the first time, and it gave me 3,800. So this is an account that has literally never touched DPS, but because my MMR from my tank roll was so high,
Oh wow.
it just gifted me 3,800, and I was like, I'm actually just throwing these people's lobbies. So I went away and I had to make a new account and actually learn DPS so that I wasn't. But it's kind of a shame that the game would force you to. And A10, you alluded to earlier as well, the idea of meta boosting.
Right. Yeah, because there are certain metas where certain heroes really broken and it's easier to play. I wouldn't say this is like a rampant. I won't say it's not like a rampant issue. But there are cases of it. There are definitely people who've just abused a certain hero to get there, and then
And then a hero gets nerfed, and then suddenly they're
right. Yeah, floating around there, or it is possible for people to float around the 50-50. It's not everyone will just like tank down. So I think it'd be a good way to kind of just also bring players back to the game. Oh, Overwatch Reset MMR, I can go my main again and like come back to the game, and fresh competitive ladder to climb. It's like in RuneScape, it's super exciting whenever like it's an MMO, fresh leaderboards. Who doesn't love, competing and chasing that?
What would you say to people who say, and I know this is to all of you, about the people who say, well, it'll just be an absolute mess. Like, we got GMs in the same lobby with bronze. Like, why would we want that?
I mean, it would
out.
help you balance, to your, you'll still get to where you should be, I feel like. It might take a while. I don't know.
I think it'd be fun.
I think it'd be
I don't
fun
mind.
too. It might make the game more like interesting for a little bit,
I think it's time
100%,
for some change,
I mean,
We
if you
definitely need
force
some
like yeah, exactly. Because if you force like a plat player with a GM, I mean, maybe the GM will be like, "Hey, let's do this," like, "Oh, cool, like learn something." It'll just help you out. I don't know. Yeah, I think a change would be nice.
Yeah, I have 2 things to add on that, which is one is like expectations. Because I think at this point there's already so much saltiness, so much people like, oh well, there's so much inaccuracy about SR, right? All Smurfs, off rolls, people, or not even if you're on your main role, someone's SR on Roadhog, as we all know, is no reflection on their ability to play Reinhardt, for example. So there's so many variables that there's already that staleness. So there's already a lot of mess in terms of could it be that much worse? And also, I sometimes take an old school POV where I'm like, you know what? There were days when in online competitive when you just didn't have a matchmaker. You just ran up into a lobby to get those are people who've maybe played in custom games. I used to play a lot of Warcraft 3 custom like Battle.net launcher back then. You didn't have a matchmaker. You just created a lobby in a public thing and said join. Dota 3.7, join fast. Go, go, go. You joined and it was a random assortment of 12 people and you played and that was it. And you made do with the players you had in the lobby. So I think an expectation shift is a potential benefit as well, where people are expecting now, like, okay, well, this could be imbalanced. I've just got to make do with it, right? As we were saying earlier, like, if you just got to learn to deal with the fact that Smurfs might exist or XYZ might exist. That's my
I like that.
yeah. So MMR Reset. Anything else to add on that? Adovahkitty, anything else to add?
I want to like kind of go over like loser queues or winner queues.
Oh yeah.
Like I think it is a problem. I mean, I've seen it quite a bit. I believe it's a thing. It's been affecting quite a lot of people recently. Just people getting in constant games with people that have been on a loss streak, and I
Do you
think
want to,
like
sorry, do you want to just quickly explain the theory to anyone who's like, what is a winner queue, loser queue? Do you want to just quickly explain what that is?
yeah. So typically, what like is seen in FPS games is like there are players, if they have lost quite a bit, they're going to be put in games with other people that are losing, or same thing with people that are winning games. They're going to be put in winning games, and that's just called winner's queue. And I think that it's been kind of a struggle for some people. Like, and maybe that's why they're not ranking up, because like they're just being put in games with other people that are losing. And I mean, of course there's going to be a winner team at the end of it, but like there is also that unfortunate circumstance where like you might be, you know, with people that are actually like throwing or not even trying. So I don't know. I think it's interesting like how that is a part of FPS games, especially Overwatch.
I think it came from League of Legends.
Like, oh wow.
That's where it's
Yeah.
originated.
Well, there's actually some truth to that though. From what I understand, I haven't played an excessive amount of League of Legends, but I certainly know in Dota, for example, if you behave badly, if your reputation goes down low, so if you get reported a lot, you actually do get put with other people who have bad reputations. So there's a
Also
tangible.
CS:GO.
Sorry, is there CS:GO as well?
Yeah, I was just adding. Yeah.
Yeah, so you actually do get tangibly put in games with people who are at least behaving badly and likely to probably be losing as well because they're salty as hell. So there's some validity to that. Do you believe A10 and cuppcaake? Do you believe that it's maybe a thing in Overwatch too?
Do you want to?
I don't know. All I know is like in that situation, the people that are like toxic and they're really like just bad attitude players and they're, you know, throwing whatever. I mean, sure, put them with other people that are like throwing and bad attitudes or whatever. But how does the game know? Because what if you're like someone that's trying and you're losing because you're on a team with people are throwing and you're not the one throwing, but you're losing. So are like would that be
Well, it would be like, usually these games have like a community moderation that kind of check, because what you would go off is like the report system or the endorsement system, for example, right? So if you're endorsement level 1, the game would say, well, you're not getting endorsed, and in fact people tend to avoid you as teammate or they report you a lot. And
But is that what the winner's queue and loser's queue like ideas in Overwatch, or is it just like if you're losing, then you're being put with other players that are losing, not like what you're being reported as or what you're, you know, like it just is it just losing and winning, or is it more than that? Because I don't know. I haven't really like looked into the
well,
that
there's
at all.
there's two sort of separate but interlinking ideas. What Adovahkitty is kind of alluding to, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, Adovahkitty, is there's a quite common sentiment in the community that there is such a thing as winner's queue and loser's queue, where sometimes like basically the game is encouraging long streaks of certain type of game, right? So when you're winning, it keeps giving you good games. You keep winning, and then when you start losing, it puts you in loser's queue to kind of almost sabotage you in a way and keep putting you in games that you're likely to lose for whatever nefarious reasons we might speculate. But that's one. And then the other thing we kind of alluded to, what A10 brought up, is that there's actually like the idea comes from games where that's actually a thing, because you can actually be put with other people. And then, you asked about how that would work. So in Overwatch, it would work that way potentially, but certainly the devs have never said that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I was trying to understand if it was just based off like if you're losing, you're getting put in like in loser's queue, then it's like, well, that sucks if you're losing because you have teammates throwing and like you're having to pay the consequence, play the losing teams because you just happen to be on a losing team. But if you're being like constantly reported or like low endorsements or something, then I don't know. Like in CS:GO, like I know that's a thing in CS:GO, and I've always thought, well, I guess that's fine. It doesn't really affect me because I'm not throwing or being, reported or whatever. So it doesn't affect me. But I've never really thought of it, to be honest. I didn't really think that was a a thing. So that's new to me.
I have a question, Adova. When does it put you in losers and winners queue? Like, why am I not in winners and losers queues, for example?
I've actually like never been in it, but I've seen it. Like I've heard of
But how does
people.
it choose people? Does that make sense?
I think like from what I've heard, it's just people are getting like they're like losing. Like they might have like lost a few, and then they're getting games with like on streaks with people that might be throwing or like
Right.
bad attitudes. And it's I guess the same with winners queue.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard of like FIFA or other companies purposely like the advantage of making people lose. Like if you start winning, they want you to slow down. That helps with, I don't know, some weird psychology things I don't understand. But for the winners and losers queue, I've never really, I've thought about it. I've never ascribed to it though. For me, for me personally, I don't think it's there. It would make more sense like if you're losing, which could be a negative experience, you're going to be pre-tilt. You're going to already be on edge. It's like tilt queuing is like a super big thing that people like straight up do. They just tilt queue their Sarway and da da da. Da. So to me, would make more sense that it's like
I've had like
aside from like unlucky experiences, which I sorry, yeah, go.
oh, I was just saying like I've heard like I've had this friend in a loser queue and they would like they'd be in it for days, maybe like maybe a few days. So it's crazy.
Why not responsibility in a way? Like when I play good, I win. When I play bad, I lose. That's something I've like recently come to. I've been doing this for a year, of like da 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 da. Da. And I've unironically started to notice that like the times where I'm playing good, I'm on point, I do win more games. The times that I'm playing bad, I do lose more games.
Yeah,
Right?
I definitely agree with like what you're saying. Sorry, like tilt queuing.
Go.
There, yeah, like there has been like studies done. Like if you're tilted, you're probably gonna. I think it's like 20%. You're gonna be like worse than you typically are, just from being so tilted. So I could see that like why some people might think they are in loser queue too.
Yeah.
But there's no way to like know, right? Like how do you know? It's just because my thing is like I've had games where or days where I'm doing really well and I'm like on a winning streak and I'll get in a lobby and someone's like, all right, I've lost every game today, like so let's win. I'm like, oh, okay, well, hopefully my streak can continue and help you out. So
Yeah.
I guess I just am not really like super aware, or even like vice versa. I'll be like, I won a game today, and people were like, oh, we're doing really good, so you know,
I think
maybe it'll change.
yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it for me it definitely seems like it's kind of like looking for a pattern to A10's a pro player though, so it's hard to have him in POV. Disagree. I really disagree with that statement. Like sorry, because I saw it in your chat. Somebody's like,
yeah. I was actually going to bring it up as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I'm high elo, that gives me the inability to understand what people go through or right? Again, there's no elo heaven. Again, I need to improve myself. I need to work on my mental as well. I'm what maybe makes me different is the ability to hard carry unlosable. But at the end of the day, I've coached so many people. I've done so much mental coaching, and they're not pro players, but they're coming back to me. Hey, nice, I'm climbing. This worked. Thank you for helping me change my. But like on top of that, just because I'm like high elo doesn't mean that I can't understand the things that I've also been through. Like I've been there. That's how I got to this point. I've put in thousands of hours of grinding. That's why I think not only does it give me a better insight, it also like I think maybe shows for me like there's light at the end of the tunnel. You can get to a point where actually it's in your control and That doesn't mean when I say these things, it's like I have games where I'm playing out of my mind and I lose. Right? Everybody goes through those things no matter what. So that's also like a common counter anecdote where it's like, oh, but I also play good, but so do I. Everybody, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think especially because you focus a lot on like the mental aspect in this approach to the game as well, and I think that argument of, well, you know, a lot of these GM players, they're so exceptional that they don't understand the struggles of a gold player, and I think there's some merit in that argument in the sense of they don't understand necessarily the problems that specific players are encountering, right? So for example, they might say like, oh, just listen to audio cues and you'll figure out. But for some people, like, I find it incredibly difficult to pay attention to audio cues.
Yeah,
so things like that, I can 100% agree with when someone says
Yeah.
you don't quite understand what my problem is. Like you're saying it's easy, but it's not. But I think the difference with what you're talking about is it's the mental aspect is universal. I really don't think anyone can. I mean, we have different personalities, of course, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that, you know, like you're a real calm guy, A10. I'd like to think I'm a real calm guy, and you
I
know,
can get pretty in.
well, again
Yeah.
and again, we'll all say, like, I'll say I've worked on myself to improve my mentality. You'll say
Yeah.
you worked on yourself to
Yes,
improve your mentality.
100%. Yeah.
But I also will acknowledge that sometimes there's a natural propensity for someone to be a bit more calm and for someone to be a bit more emotional, react a bit more emotionally. So we have differences, but I still, as a personal belief, I think everyone can find a mental balance to take the right approach to the game. Even if, let's say, you're still an extra emotional person, you still do sometimes get carried away. I do think everyone can find the balance to find a healthy way to approach the game, basically, regardless of your natural demeanor. On the note of winners losers queue, it's really tough, is my take, is because there's so many variables, right? There's so many variables because it's not only your own gameplay. Again, as you guys alluded to, there's the potential that you're tilt queuing. You know, okay, you lost 10 games in a row, but maybe could you have stopped the raw anywhere at any along the point, right? Let's say of those 10 games, maybe 8 you were destined to lose. Maybe 8 were just matchmaking different, you were destined to lose. But maybe 2 you could have changed the outcome of. And that would have stopped the quote-unquote losers queue, but you were so upset already that you didn't. Or, you know, so many other things. Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep. Maybe you didn't get enough food. Maybe you're playing a different hero today. Maybe just this, you know, random chance of today you're getting a lot of hard matchups. Maybe your hero is getting, you know, they're picking a hero that really counters your hero a lot. And it's just so happening. There's the million variables on top of course, all the nuances of matchmaking design that we're kind of not privy to, right? Because it gets real complicated when you start talking about like how the matchmaker determines what a win is. From whatever vague understanding I have, you know, the matchmaker is trying to get close to 50%, but if it can't, it's going to, if one team is 52% to win, then it's still going to put you in the lobby together, but it'll just try and adjust how much SR you won or lost based on how likely it thought you were to win the game. So there's a lot of variables basically, and I don't know if this is answering any of your questions, Adovahkitty, but there's a lot of variables is my take, and it's really hard to prove conclusively either way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like, it's just such a, I don't know, like there's not like a lot of information out there about losers or winners queue. Like, and none of the big games have really talked about it either. So
I can definitely understand the feeling of being feeling sabotaged by the game, because I've had that a lot where you're
I've
just
had
like,
it as well.
Yeah, same.
it just feels like the
Definitely.
game's trying to make me lose. Go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry, Cuppcaake, maybe you wanted to chime in.
Oh no, I was just saying I agree. Like there's definitely maybe I didn't know the term losers queue, but now I can probably think back to like moments where if I knew, I'd probably be like, I'm probably losers queue right now, you know,
Yeah.
because it does feel like that sometimes for sure. But I've always chalked it up to like unlucky day, you know.
And the other thing I'll add on the mentality front is that it's always a human tendency. I think when we're winning, it's because it's our good gameplay, and we're losing, it's because unlucky teammates. Whereas, you know, sometimes the winner's queue is just your luck. You just got lucky and got, you know, 5 good games in a row.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we tend to not think like that. Just human nature. We've got some interesting discussions. I'm going to move on to that, unless anyone has anything else to add on winners losers queue. No. So what I was going to ask is, so Great Quaketon has come in and said, you know, my issue with matchmaking is that one team will get like 3.8k tanks, and one team has 4.2k tanks and 3.8 support. So I guess what Great Quaketon is alluding to is role variance, and, you know, perhaps in certain elos, certain roles have more power. So actually, you could argue that the matchmaker is prioritizing one team over the other, even if their SR is balanced, if one role is higher ranked than the other. And I think particularly when tanks are so in low population, it's usually tanks that we talk about in these terms. A10, what did you kind of want to say?
No, I haven't thought of that too much, actually. I've not once brought that up, or I haven't really thought about how each role could be worth more. I have, like, obviously seen where that is imbalanced, but I've never really thought about it. So I like to hear what other people have to say on it.
I've never really considered that before, to be honest. I don't really look
Yeah.
at I think especially being like in the lower end of the like ranks, I don't really focus on like what everyone's SR is or where they're ranked at, just because most of the time I assume like either they're like a Smurf or I don't know. Like, I don't really focus on that, I guess, to be honest. So I've never really looked into it. I don't have a lot that I could add to that. I focus more on like how like our like how we can work together as a team and whatever. I don't really look at the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm just not a numbers person, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think because in Hilo it's way more imbalanced because like there's less pool of players to choose from, so the variance gets like greater.
I'm kind of the same with cuppcaake. I used to care a lot about numbers, but like honestly, if these people are getting queued with me, then that I'm probably around the same rank as them. I'm the same like skill set maybe. Like that's where I'm supposed to be. You just play and try to win. That's like how every game's gonna be.
I think ultimately, like, because what Get Quick on brought up is it's a good point, but I think ultimately all the things that come up are like what's out of our control and what's in our control.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I'm just starting to realize like all these other things are like these ideas bring are like these are not things in your control, and like focus. There are things you can focus on that you can control, which will make like I said.
I think that's why I don't look at profiles like career profile. Like I don't look at any of that because I'm like, what is it? I mean, if it's
not gonna help.
Less than what I expect or greater, like, is it really, what can I do about it?
There's nothing you can do about it besides avoid them after the game. Like there's no way to avoid the game.
Yeah, you're already in it. So
yeah.
And I guess I just try to be optimistic because what if you're at the point where you're like focusing on like you're looking at everyone's career profile and you're focusing on this and then you start analyzing and then I don't know, then if you see something, I don't know, you might go in like too pessimistic.
Well, for what he's saying, it does make sense because it's like there is like an imbalance in those
I've
roles.
just never looked into it like that.
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Adovahkitty. You go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I think even if you have like a one trick on your team, like, yeah, you can't avoid it. Might as well play around it, like maybe go the
100%.
composition that works best with that teammate. Like, just it's a team-based game. Like, you have to play as a team. So.
Well, I was gonna say I have a way of rephrasing the question because obviously it's tough to on the spot if you haven't thought about. Yeah, maybe if there is tanks. Here's a way of rephrasing the question. Do you guys think that there's a role that's better to climb than the others, or do you think there's like a hierarchy of which roles are stronger and which roles are weaker? I recognize we've got potential bias. Well, all of us, every single person that asks this question will have bias, but do you believe that? Cuppcaake, I'll come to you first.
I mean, I guess I do think like maybe as personal experience, I feel like it is harder to climb as support, like because I know I'm better at support than I am at tank or DPS, but there's a lot of times where my DPS plays higher, than my support does. And I can win more games, but not a great DPS, but I am a good support and I don't know. I feel like DPS I've always done better at climbing than support. Tank, I don't play a ton of tank, but I mean, I've had some really good games as tank and I'm like, man, if I did this all the time, I could probably like climb up a little bit higher, but yeah, I don't know.
Adovahkitty, you're also a support. Do you agree?
I think support and tank honestly have the highest carry potential. I think DP, like tank, in my opinion, is the highest carry potential. You're just like they're in charge, like you're up front, and everything you do matters. Like every little split second as a tank, it really matters. Like if you have that shield up at that right moment, then you could save your teammates. Or if you go dive on their backlines at the right moment on Hammond, like you could carry the game. Like I think tank is very important. And being as a support main, like I've seen like what good supports can do to help the team like win. Like if you just have an Ana that's being more DPS more than healing, like, and let's say there's a Mercy that's hardcore focusing on the DPS, as Mercies typically do, the tanks are just going to constantly die. Like you're very important as a support. But I really do think tank has the most carry potential in the game.
A10, the tank player, Zarya lover. How do you feel?
I actually came up with like I've worked through this recently with like especially I got it kind of through coaching. and some other things. I agree. I think at the end of the day, 100% there will be a difference in how hard a role can carry. And simply put, I don't care. Doesn't matter. You gotta play your role. You want to play support, play support. You want to play tank, right?
Exactly.
But
I mean, I play sport even though I feel like it's harder for me to climb.
Yeah.
but
Because I want to play it.
what I have learned is that like there's a really common sentiment with like tank and carry easier, and I agree. Sure, yeah, right. I agree with that, but I disagree with that DPS can't. And because what I learned recently is that the best DPS players get value without getting kills, without the super not obvious things, like being at the right place at the right time. More abstract concepts, like when I was playing soldier versus my friend in the same match, I would go to high ground. I would soak the attention of two people, knowing I couldn't kill them. Right, so Hanzo Zen, I'm soldier. They're gonna one shot me, but I would purposely like annoy them. Right, that's two people being drawn to me. Doomfist came flank. That's three people drawn to me. You think my team's gonna win that fight? 5 versus 3, right? 100%. So there's all these different ways that I think DPS can carry, and I think it's the highest mechanical word. So I personally do think that DPS can carry the hardest. It's just very difficult, but that's why they can carry the hardest as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DPS can definitely carry, but I do agree it's very hard. Like if the rest of your team isn't, trying as hard as you.
Yeah, it's by far the hardest.
I think
Is it harder than support though?
I like if you want to be like perfect at the top, yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like what you'd have to do mechanically and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the thing about the discussions like because this, I asked the question knowing that it's a very hot topic discussion. It's something that always comes up on like Overwatch social media, and everyone always. I think that the thing about it is everyone always has their own bias, right? We can't avoid that. Everyone plays a certain hero or plays a certain role and loves a certain role, and at the end of the day, most people think their role is the weakest and the other roles are the strongest, and that's kind of the general theme. And also the bigger variance I think comes in SR, because I really think that the narrative is dominated by top 500 players. I think if I had to weigh in, I would say tank matters the most to the highest. I think DPS is the strongest in the lowest elos. And I think support, it kind of stays relatively consistent. Like I think you can carry with support on most elos, but it can go up or down. Like sometimes in the lower ranks, you just have to hard heal your tanks, or you have to avoid the instinct to hard heal bot your tanks because they take so much damage. But I think really my real take, my giga brain take, if I can frame it that way, is that I think the discussion is framed wrong. I don't think it's a role thing. I think it's a hero thing. I think the discussion of like tanks carry the most is unnuanced, because I don't think anyone's out here saying that playing Reinhardt in solo queue is the best way to climb in Overwatch, because it really isn't. And I think similarly, like playing Mercy in solo queue really isn't the play. It's not the guaranteed easy climb that a different support might have. And again, it varies from player to player. I say this as someone whose all three roles are basically within like 200 SR of each other. I find that it really is a role. It really is a hero thing, because I can get to Master on Reaper, but I can't get out of Plat on Tracer. Because I can leverage the kit that Reaper has, but Tracer is a completely different mechanical skill set that I don't have.
Are you
so I
Reaper
can find
player?
Yeah, Reaper made 2 trick right here.
Yeah.
All the tank players are good Reaper players because they know how to how to control the space. They know how to like play the right places. But I can't one clip someone on Tracer no matter how much time you give me, right? So I think it really comes down to your skill sets and what you find in every role to leverage. And I think if you find the right thing, you'll climb on every role. Of course, there are heroes that are stronger than others, but again, it really depends on your skill set.
Yeah. And also oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Like, I think what the hardest role is like at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I think it just depends on what elo bracket you're in.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because ultimately there's only so much you can min-max about a Winston or a Reinhardt, right? That's what makes them both good and frustrating, because there's an infinite number of tactical decisions you'd have to make on the hero. But once you learn how to fire strike something, there's not, bumping your fire strike accuracy from 85 to 86% isn't going to help. But bumping your hit accuracy on McCree a couple % is actually, or Cassidy is actually a huge buff. So there's always going to be a higher ceiling of what a DPS can min-max the longer a game goes on compared to something like a tank. But yeah, sorry, I've ranted for a little bit. Adovahkitty, cuppcaake, anything you guys want to add?
I don't think so.
you guys feel like so cuppcaake, to summarize, you feel like support. Do you still feel like support is the hardest? And you can say it with your chest. You can stick by it.
I mean, I guess it's just from personal experience because I mainly play support, and I see what I encounter, you know, because it's like sometimes I feel like I can play really well, and I'll be playing against a team where, you know, there's like a Doomfist that's just like constantly bullying me, but it's not a problem because I'm landing my sleep darts on him, like I'm not letting him harass me, I'm not letting him take me down, and I'm like, that's a big win for me as a support, like having to deal with that, like fly buzzing around me, but then still doing my job as healing, but then like we still lose. You know, it's like games like that are really frustrating.
Well, can I just chirp in real quick? It's like
Yeah,
it
please.
depends on the context because I agree with you. I would say support is the hardest with your POV, like on that situation, like 100%.
Yeah,
Right?
because I'm like, I'm doing my job and more, you know,
And
and then
nobody's
I'm
gonna
still
peel
losing.
for you. Like they're not gonna like help you. A DPS would be more straightforward to carry on and all that. So yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
again, this is that variance conversation, right? It's like
yeah.
people in GM are like, Zen is broken, and then just try playing Zen in plat, and there's like one person diving you, and you just die because you're paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it really is a nuanced conversation, I think. But yeah, anything else to add on that before we move on from that discussion? The role SR, like the role imbalance, basically. No. Okay.
No. I like your take
Well-
on it. The heroes.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm. Okay, well, what I would bring us back to is because this all started from any changes we would make. So we started talking about MMR Reset, and then, you know, Get Quaked On came in with the whole mismatch of roles. Is there anything else you guys would consider changing about the game's systems that might help? Anything like ELO Hell? Any frustrations that you have?
I think we've covered like some of the really big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because one thing I forgot to ask is with the MMR Reset, a lot of people would say, well, that's just kind of temporary, isn't it? Like, what happens 8 seasons
Maybe,
in?
but maybe not. Like, you know,
Well, until we try.
exactly. We won't know until we try. Like,
I mean,
so
even if it is, it's still good.
So what? Yeah.
More players
Even
will
if-
come back. It's fun for
Yeah.
the game. It's fresh. It's
Yeah, if it changes and it's whatever, it's new, it's fresh, and then it just goes back, well, at least we had a while of like, you know,
fun.
figuring that out and, you know, working around it. And, you know, and sometimes maybe some people will actually climb and stay and feel, you know, like they're more where they belong. And if
100%.
people go back down, then maybe that's where you're supposed to be. And then you have to work from there to, you know, go up anyway, which is where we're at right now. So
Do you, any of you feel like an Apex style system of like MMR resets like every season, or, you know, just SR resets, but in that way every season would be viable? Adovahkitty, how about you? For context, anyone listening, you know, like in Apex, when a split ends, you just go straight back down to bronze and you gotta climb again.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, I think just DPS, like it's just weird. It's like DPS are it's easy to like carry on DPS, but it's like so weird, like being in such a different. I don't know. I think it's hard to explain.
It's
Maybe
okay.
come back to me.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say,
it
take your
depends on
time.
the- depends on the
Just
role or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gather
Because
your
then, like,
thoughts. It's
more
okay.
roles might be a more of an advantage if they're like resetting every time or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Maybe.
that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I haven't thought like whether it's every season or at least like once, like now and then, like, you know, however long until I don't know. I guess I just want one in general, whether it's just like one fresh one right now and that's it, or if it's like every season, or I don't know if there's some way to experiment with that, you know.
Sorry, chat. I was just going to chime in. Chat's correcting me. There's not a full reset in Apex. They drop like a couple ranks and then they come back. I think that for a period of time it was a full reset. I think they might have changed that. But anyways, they drop a little bit. So you guys feel like, or at least Cuppcaake, you feel like you just want one. You want one at least, right?
Yeah.
Right now,
like
we
I
take
said, new change.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. even if they did one now and then like we tried it out for how many ever seasons, and then like maybe from there, maybe see how long it took people to balance out, or if, and then maybe from there do it every season or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
they could make seasons longer, right? Because if we are
yeah,
doing a big change,
Yeah.
then seasons should be way
I mean,
longer.
we even have experimental. Like maybe we could try something like that in experimental.
exactly, yeah. It would be a long experiment probably, but I
It
mean,
would.
I feel like a lot of people would
Be
be
fun.
okay with that,
Yeah. I
Why
mean,
not? You can see how the games are like. Yeah.
I
I
think
would definitely do it like that.
a lot of people have left Overwatch. It might give them a reason to come back. Like
Exactly.
try something new. I think it could bring a lot of old players back.
Especially now, like now's the time to do something
Absolutely.
drastic or
With
extreme.
Yeah, a lot of people are leaving because there's nothing new about Overwatch too. Like a lot of people are disappointed. I think could definitely bring some more players back into the game.
Yeah. I definitely don't play it as much as I used to, but if there was something drastic, I probably would. The only thing
There
that's
was
making me like hang in there is like try not to solo queue anymore and like play with
for
friends,
sure.
have fun with it.
I feel like a lot of content creators have been getting like pretty bored with the game too. Like I know I got a little burnt out like maybe a few months ago, and it's just we need. I don't know. I think an
Yes,
MMR reset would be a cool experimental change.
Mm-hmm.
I just remembered. So I got burnt out and I'd taken a break before I came back with this recent big grind. And the reason that I came back was a bait MMR reset. So what they did in higher elo is that they made it so that you cannot place over 3,900 at the end of each season.
Mm.
I can end way higher than that, but it'll also come back to 3,900. And that idea got me so excited for the game. It was unbelievable. Like every
Oh,
season.
wow.
Now everybody has to grind back up. At the very least, you can still have that MMR, but you have to put in the work at least to show your skill again. Brought me back to the game. It was exciting. It was good. So
Interesting.
The problem that
Yeah.
people found with that eventually is that unfortunately, because they do it
It was
every
fun.
season, everyone feels like, well, those 5 placement games that you do are pointless because
Agreed.
you will always end
Yeah.
up 3,900.
Yeah. But if we had
I
an
already
actual
feel like
memory
we're
set,
pointless.
we'd have longer seasons. So.
Well, they're doubly pointless in this case because you could, if you
Yeah.
finish 4.4k, it literally doesn't matter what the 5 games are. It's one thing to start off where you left, but literally doesn't even matter because you will just be 3,900 regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
So I know that's a gripe that the highest level streamers have. My personal POV is that I would like a minimum game requirement per season. I think, and then a reset if you don't meet it. Because I think like the things like MMR Reset and stuff, again, I do think that we can do it once, but then 8 seasons down the line, we're down the same place. When do we decide we need another reset? Whereas I think like a permanent potential solution is, okay, it's 25 games to be top 500, fine. You have to play 25 games a season per role to not reset your MMR a little bit, right? Let's say you don't play one season, you'll lose, I don't know, 100, 200, whatever a fair number is SR. Because I think if you play enough games, you will fluctuate as you should, right? So as we talked about, like meta boosting or people who've stayed away from the game for a while, the people who need to go down will go down, and the people who are willing to climb and grind will go up. The biggest problem is when people don't play and then they come back in bursts in sporadic bits, and then they're holding on to their SR, et cetera, et cetera. So I think if you at least mandate 25 games, people are getting to where they should be, and if they're not playing, then they're dropping as they should. Because if you're not playing, you're not improving. I have told this to Blizzard.
Yeah. It's so good.
We'll see what they think. I do want to say the devs are trying to be more communicative, but this is one front where it's like pin drop silence. So I wouldn't be optimistic, but yeah, I think it would be better personally. But yeah,
solve a lot of issues as well.
I think so too. I think it's something I've racked with for a while, and that's why I'm like, I think this is the best thing I can come up with. I'm sure someone has better ideas, and I'm sure someone right now is thinking that's a shit idea, CB, but sure, we're allowed that.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
I do too, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the validation, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, so I know I've taken a lot of you guys' time, and what I like to do when I'm heading towards the end of the podcast is always try and leave something optimistic. So we are kind of discussing, changes and stuff. So what I'd love is for you guys to tell me the one thing or a few things that you would really like to see in this regard, in the wider topic of ELO Hell. What up, Dad? Is that Dad 10?
My dad's bringing me a care package.
Awesome.
That's nice.
That's great. If only we all had dads bringing us
Nice.
care package.
It's good life.
Nice.
Oh.
Hey, Dad 10 is back. Another care package. We live in the life.
Doing.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
sorry.
gosh, his name's D10.
D10 sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons dice, but yeah. So one thing in the sort of wider scope of ELO Hell, it could be anything. It could be a change that you really want to see in the game or the systems, or it could be maybe a plea to the ranked community and say, guys, please, can we do this? So I'll start. Adovahkitty, actually, sorry, did you figure out the thing you wanted to say before I move on to that?
I think it was covered pretty well by Cuppcaake. Like, I think we went pretty well on it.
Okay. So on that note, then, one thing that you guys would like to see maybe, done or changed. I'll start with A10.
Done or changed to anything at all?
Anything.
Yeah,
Let's say you're in charge of. Well, with the frame of improving the ELO Hell or ranked kind of experience.
From Blizzard's POV. Or from my POV.
You're in charge of Blizzard. You're now the same. It's the same thing. Blizzard and you are one now.
Okay. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but what I would do is I wouldn't try to fix those things or those things that are born out of something that's not really wouldn't be in my control. It'd be better to focus on updates, make the game better, give more content, give people something else to fixate on other than like these awful things dragging them down. It's like, why not? Right? Make a fun game, then you can justify going through that hell. You can justify going through all those other things. There's a means to an end. So I don't have anything specific that I would like do. So I'm not very helpful to Blizzard, or I wouldn't be very helpful. But right, that'd be my POV on it.
It makes a lot of sense. I do think a lot of frustration in the game comes from the staleness and people's frustration with the state of the game.
Yeah.
As much as just the playing of it as well. Cuppcaake, let's go to you next.
I think that, I kind of agree, like, updates and stuff would be great, and I would like that. I think I'm gonna focus more on, like, what I want to say to other players instead. So, especially, because, like, the whole reason we did this, right, is because you had a lot of people that are in plat or, the metal ranks, as you call it. And so I guess being someone in that rank, with y'all, if y'all are in that rank, is just practice more mindfulness. Like, oh, please, just like try so hard to not get tilted, or to try to pick on things that just bring the dynamic down. Just like maybe try a little bit to combat that, and just try to enjoy the game for what it is, what you can control in the game. And I don't know, I guess or at least like just be in voice chat. Even if you don't want to use your mic, just be in voice chat. Just like listen, just help everyone work together. Okay, like just teamwork makes the dream work. All right, like please. So if you're stuck in flat, like we don't have to be stuck in flat. Okay, if you feel like that you can climb and like you're better than that, like if we just work together as a team, be mindful, don't let the rage come out, like just try, that's all I ask. Like if everyone on my team would just try a little bit more at not letting the game tilt you, because like what do you get from it? Nothing. At least try. And if you're getting dominated by Smurfs, don't just like GG. Just
blame A10 basically.
Then just like try to make it as like a learning experience. Like, okay, team, like what can we do? Let's figure something out. Let's at least try. Because man, if we can like figure a way to push through this, even if we don't win, it's like, hey, we made progress, and that's something that we can take with us in the next game. Like, stop giving up so easily, please. Even if you lose a player, don't give up. You can still do it. 5v6 is a thing.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. It's what makes Overwatch fun. Just having a better team, like a team that wants to work together.
Yeah.
So,
because like I want to win too. It's not like, oh, I just want to have fun. All I care about is having fun. No, like I also really want to win too. So like it's definitely possible to balance the two. Whether you're someone queuing, like I'm playing to win, like so you better be queuing to play too, like to win too. Or if you're, because we're gonna always have those two dynamics on our teams. Like, I want to win, I want to have fun. Like, it's totally possible to balance the two and have both. And I just
Let's
want
be
every game to
better.
be like that.
Let's be better is the wholesome message from Cuppcaake.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this, guys. We don't have to do it. We doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be this way.
Adovahkitty, how about you? What's your one major change?
I think that content creators should, like, I don't know, we should be able to, like, come up with I really love the experimental that we were given in like April from content creators, and I think that it could be a good way to keep people on their toes and, like, you know, have fun with Overwatch, like getting all of their, you know, patch note updates, even outside of experimental. Like, you know, I think content creators like have played so much Overwatch also that they know what Overwatch needs. And I don't know, just getting ideas from the people that play Overwatch the most, like on how to balance, could be good.
Mm-hmm. So more intimate relationship between content creators and Blizzard is kind of what you're
Yes.
suggesting.
Yeah, I think that would be really good, especially for Overwatch too.
Makes sense.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
hopefully that's something that they are aware of. It feels like they are. I know it's a very hot topic discussion. I'm not going to tread into those waters because I know every time this comes up, there's like this split divide of NDA creators versus everyone else. And it's just like, when I say I think the devs are trying harder, people are like, shut the fuck up. You're under NDA and you're into the privy information and you don't know what it's like for us who don't know much. But if you do put, you know, a salt grain's worth of value in my words, I do think the devs are trying harder. So we'll see if it results in anything. But at least there are people trying.
Yeah.
My thing, I think there's a lot of things that we could change. I think the bingo card of the Group Up podcast is I would really like more team play to be encouraged, because I think one thing we didn't really even get to is solo queue is kind of encouraged in many ways. Maximum duo, right? The game, when you start stacking, the game tries to give you like harder games. And there's not really like a team queue system. There's not frequent tournaments. Experimental tournament was great. Cuppcaake, you and I played in the team. It was a lot of fun because we had that chance.
So much fun. It was like the best time I've had in Overwatch in a very long time. And it was because I was playing with a group of people that like were the same mindset, like just want to have fun, and we're working together as a team, communicating about things we can do better. It was amazing.
And I concur. I think like that is what makes Overwatch fun. I think anyone who's played like an actual 6v6 game of Overwatch will always come out and tell you, and A10, I know you've done this as well, is he's like, this is just a different game. This is the way 100%. The game should be.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we play the fake game that we play in ladder, right? Why do we play this fake game? That's not Overwatch. So I would really love more team stuff, like to be encouraged and to really see people play.
Or a separate ladder as well. Because we can only do at the high ranks. Like, it just don't even give us the chance. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm over solo queue. Like, if I have to keep solo queuing, like, I'm not gonna make it that much longer, you know. So like, I'm being super mindful about, like, if I'm playing Overwatch this week, it's because I'm gonna play with someone. Like, I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna play the game the way I feel like it's supposed to be played. Like, I don't have anything to prove to anyone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any, like, I don't care what anyone thinks about me or my gameplay or whatever. I want to have fun and I want to learn and be better at the same time. So that's what I'm gonna do.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Adovahkitty, was your burnout partly down to solo queue as well, when you said you kind of burnt out from the game?
Yeah, I think playing with friends is it's a lot more fun, but it's really like, it's just kind of sucks that Overwatch doesn't really want you to duo or trio because of the games that you get from doing that. I just feel like you get put against people that are a lot more hard, like, to play against, and just it's just not a fun experience sometimes, and it can really tilt people. I've seen it tilt a lot of people before.
Yeah, it definitely should be a punishment to want to, like, group up and play with even up to 6 people.
Yeah, it really shouldn't. Maybe if they needed like different, I don't know, competitive like games for that, that'd be fine. Yeah, play with your friends, like competitive. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Maybe something definitely worth trying.
That reminds me, a lot of, like, I'm a quick play warrior. I love quick play. I've always played a ton of quick play, but a lot of people are surprised by that. But it's something that I always tell people to do that are getting burnt out or tilted or like Overwatch is a fun game. It just is. Playing it with your friends in quick play, it could still be like a decent quality matches. Just fun. It's casual. You get to mess about. A lot of people forget about that, I think. So
Or workshop modes
hopefully if you're
with friends.
yeah.
Yeah, workshop's fun.
Super fun.
I think it often
Yeah.
gets neglected because again, a lot of the POV comes from streamers, and I think generally people don't like watching streamers play quick play or arcade modes.
Definitely. As a
Yeah.
streamer,
It's
I
understandable, but
never wanted to play it on stream just because it's not what anyone really wanted to
Exactly. So I
watch,
think
which
kind
is
of
another
trickles
problem.
down.
Then you're
Yeah.
as a streamer, you're forcing 6 hours of competitive, even if you're not having a great competitive day, but it's the content that you're
oh yeah.
expected to make. And I feel like that's definitely a whole, I mean, yeah, that's a whole other thing. It's just pushing too much just to make content. You're not just playing,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I won 3 games, I'll stop here. Well, no, not really, because I have 5 more hours of stream. So
Yeah.
if you're on a losing streak, well, yeah. Anyways.
And also like I haven't played quick play in a lot and like quite a while. I don't like how, I want people to be trying. So
They do. Quick play games can be more competitive than comp. Just saying.
Yeah.
I
They
have
actually
yet
can
to
be.
see that. Like sometimes, like I don't know.
No,
I
I
recommend-
genuinely agree. I 100%.
Yeah.
I actually think my quick play games, especially when I stack, I think are
Really?
more balanced than
Okay.
comp.
Yeah. Also, like
Okay.
I love quick play.
I think
get
it's
the separate
ironically,
MMR.
sorry, I think it's ironically somehow the looser matchmaking is actually better. It's kind of what we were alluding to earlier, where it's like in the old days you would just throw 12 people in a custom lobby and say go. And I think something about that mentality with quick play actually works better. Maybe it's also a mental thing where people are
No, I
going
think
in
it
with
has
different
MMR.
expectations.
It has MMR.
No, it does have an MMR, but it's much looser from what I gather.
True,
Like,
because it could be literally anyone.
yeah, you can
Right.
kind of, it can kind of take, it takes yeah, it's just much looser in its criteria. And I somehow think like that, and I think maybe the mental approach we take, I think makes it just a better experience. But who knows the ins and
We should
outs
play
of
quick
it.
play sometime then.
And they're shorter games too.
We should. But chat, please don't leave when a content creator starts quick play, because then they're just gonna make them sad and gonna
No, I played off stream. I played
misery grind. Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been a wonderful discussion. I really am grateful for the time you give me. 2.5 hours have flown by. And it's been wonderful talking to you guys and getting your POVs. Is there anything else you want to add on anything that we've discussed today before I kind of sign off? No? Okay.
All right now.
I
Well,
don't think so. It's been really fun though. It was nice
Yeah.
like, chatting about all of these topics because I don't really like go in depth conversations with a lot of people about some of these topics. A lot of it's just like stuff that's just floating around my own head, So it's nice having the discussion.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
no, thank you guys for
That's
being here.
nice.
It's always nice to kind of feel like, actually I think a lot of people just actually end up having the same experience without, necessarily communicating with each other. We're all kind of going through the same BS. So it's nice to let it out, which I'm sure some of our listeners are feeling as well. But yes, on that note, guys, thank you so much. Guys, please check out Cuppcaake, A10, and Adovahkitty. There's a command in chat right now, ! before their name. Will bring up all their socials. Please go make sure you like, follow, subscribe, send love, send hearts their way. Same YouTube, if you're watching this later, it'll be in the video description. Spotify listeners as well, it's the same idea. So thank you guys for your time. I'll be back in a little bit. I'm just gonna take a quick 2-3 minute intermission and we'll continue the stream. But for the group up podcast section, that is it. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Peace
you.
out.
Thank you.